Anthony Arillotta and Gene Borrello. How's it going?
Good. How
What's
are
going
you?
on, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to have you guys here.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, for the people who don't know, can you kind of give them a little bit of an introduction to you guys? You know, who you are, where you're from, and what it was like for you guys.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Arillotta. I'm from Springfield, Mass. I was the former boss for the Genovese family faction of Connecticut and Massachusetts. I ran all the rackets for the largest family in the United States, the Genovese crime family, in Connecticut and Massachusetts for that family. So that was what I was in control of. My crew controlled outside of New York. The official family was based out of New York, and outside of New York was, which is, we border, Connecticut borders New York, and then Mass, and I had control of all that.
So there's other factions to it.
There's different families in New York. There's 5 families in New York. The Genovese family one is the biggest, and they have different factions, one in New Jersey, one in Florida, and Massachusetts and Connecticut. The Massachusetts, Connecticut gets broken down where there's a boss that controls that area, and but they report to the bosses in New York when it comes to something serious, like a murder or dispute with other families. In the New England area, which is Connecticut, Mass, Boston, all throughout there, you have the Patriarcha family, you have other families that run through Connecticut, but the Genovese is the most powerful, and being part of that, connected with that family, makes us the powerful faction outside of New York.
My name is Gene Borrello. Everyone knows me usually. Former enforcer for the Bruno crime family. I was based out of New York, born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. My department was basically collecting all the money, hurting people who need to be hurt, shooting people who need to be shot, all the bad stuff. I had a huge armed robbery team. I was a known heist guy. I ran with Vinny Asaro and Ronnie Gialonzo, and basically I caused havoc for most of my life. That was it.
Okay, so growing up, did you guys have it rough growing up, or did you guys have it easy growing up?
So I'm from Howard Beach, Queens. If you look at the neighborhood, it's $1 million neighborhood, right? But it's the most corrupt suburb. Everybody knows what Howard Beach is. All the mob bosses lived there. It was, the mafia stronghold, you could say, one of the biggest mafia stronghold neighborhoods in the country. We had 4 bosses living there out of the 5. So think about that. With all captains, soldiers, and associates. The neighborhood was just flooded. You walk out your house, there's 30 bookmakers, 20 loan sharks. You know what I mean? It's just a corrupt, rich suburb. It's all dirty money, and the mansions that you see is bought with, dirty money, gangster money. So I would say I definitely didn't have to be a criminal, but I definitely wanted to be. So I wouldn't say I had it rough. If you look at my neighborhood, it's beautiful, but I chose that route because that's what I wanted to be. And, basically I can't sit here and say I had a hard life growing up,
Yeah, I didn't have it rough. I had my father had one of the largest small businesses in Springfield, Mass. He was biggest, largest wine grape distributor, getting the wine grapes from California, shipped all the way to Mass. He sold like 40 trailer loads, during wine grape season. He had a large fruit and vegetable Italian store. So growing up, I didn't have it rough. I made it rough on myself, constantly getting in fights as a young kid, leading, up to assault cases, getting arrested, a shooting case when I was 20, getting a 5-year sentence. So I kind of made it rough on myself, growing up. But as far as like money-wise, we didn't grow up, we weren't rich, we were middle class, and I grew up, not hungry and not poor. So it wasn't like we grew up in a rough city. There was always, where I grew up, it was Italian-Irish neighborhood. And then later on, Italians move out, Irish, move out, and they become, you would say, a ghetto, let's say. So at that time, as it was coming on, you could call it like I, lived in kind of like that sort of environment. But it wasn't, I made my life tough by being violent and putting myself in prison at a young age.
Okay, now both of you guys grew up with this big influence.
Yeah.
The streets, the mafia, and everybody. Were your friends involved too? Like, how did all that
Yeah.
growing up in good neighborhoods, you typically don't hear
Well,
about guys.
Well, here's the thing. It's not a good, like I said, it's a mafia influenced neighborhood. So I grew up with John Gotti's grandkids. I grew up with Boss's kids. Everybody's related. Everybody's connected. Everybody's around someone. Like I said, at the age of 15 years old, I knew already about the organized crime better than a guy, 30 years old, because it's born into it. My uncle was a captain in the Gambino family, one of the most feared, respected guys for his time. He had dozens of murders. Fat Andy Ruggiano. My cousin Johnny Boy was a hitter for the Gambinos, killing people at 20 years old for them. He was later killed. So it was all around me, you know what I mean? That's all I really knew, and that's all I wanted to be. So growing up, you might say it's a nice neighborhood, but it's not. We grow up fast. At 16 years old, I was already committing crimes, already doing bad things. So I understand what you're saying, but it's all around me. It was in my face 24/7.
And also being Italian, you look up to you idolize, like you got gangs today, and I'm sure they looked up to the successful drug dealers. Back like in New York, you had Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas, and they did do movies on. And a drug dealer, would idolize, want to be them because of the money and the power. Well, the Italians, growing up, if you're criminal minded or you're a wild Italian kid growing up,
Right.
the mafia is what you're going for. Especially, growing up like we grew up, when the mafia was truly a dangerous, powerful organization globally, not just nationally. I mean, they were powerful in every city in America, just about. Every had a powerful family, and then they slowly they started to lose it, but the Northeast still hung on. New York's 5 families, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Connecticut, all major families. My family, my uncle was the driver for the boss of Massachusetts for the Genovese family, so I grew up with him. I grew up with the presence. Like I said, my father had the store. They were always frequenting my father's store, having meetings there. Old-time bosses from New York that ran the family coming up and meeting the bosses in Springfield, Massachusetts. You look at them, they're driving up in cars, they're feared, they're respected. You go to school as Italians, we all know who they are, so you want to be one of them. If, not every Italian. I'm talking like us being like little wise guys and wild kids. And like we were always fighting, getting in trouble. We aspired to be a gangster, and that's who we looked up to.
So at one point, do you guys actually start making your way towards that? Are you guys like? Did they have street gangs that you were from first, or was it just like straight to the big leagues?
It's not street gangs, but you do have like I could say farm systems. Might have a little group of crew of guys, that might be around a guy, a wise guy, or around that family, and they might be, grooming them and getting them ready to, maybe get straightened out one day or something. But there's definitely, where I'm from, not Italian gangs. That's like 40s and 50s stuff I'm saying. But where I was, no, there was no Italian gangs. We more or less were just bad kids. They look for the wildest kid, which I was, and then they recruit you. I started committing crimes at 16. I was already doing armed robberies at 18. You know what I mean? I was going to jail and out of jail my whole life. So, I was grabbed up early and made a name for myself with them quick.
Yeah, like Springfield, you wouldn't call us a gang, but we were a gang of us as a young kids, and you had different age groups. Our group was, let's say was around 15. We hung around 15, 16s. Then you had the little older groups, and we had corners. Like in Springfield, you had a South End was all the Italian section, and the youngest would hang out on this corner. We had 50, 100 guys hanging around at the corner at nighttime. Across the street, they were a little bit older. You'd have another 50 guys over there. A little bit down the street, a little bit older age group, they would be hanging another 50 guys. We had like 5 different, but then you got down by we had 3 Italian clubs, and a lot of immigrants came to Springfield. So you'd have it loaded with immigrants and hundreds of people just hanging around the corner. It was all Italians back then. So you want to call us a gang, even though there was packs of us, and we grow up wild down the South End and of Springfield. So and like he said, the older the mafia looks to recruit the young kids that are willing to commit violence, and as you get older, the mafia is an organized crime group where it's about money. So you start getting involved in mafia rackets that you get taught at a young age. Like gangs are more, is 99% of it's all drugs. we still dealt drugs, but 90% of our rackets are sports gambling, numbers, loan sharking, union businesses, legitimate businesses, joker poker, vending machine businesses. So, we're brought up to, we're violent, just like say the gangs are. Just as young kids, we get an order to shoot. They tell us to shoot the prosecutor in the case, and we're 17 years old. We'll do it. That's how we're crazy like that. But we gradually get led into the rackets, and that's how we get put into they recruit us.
How do you get recruited? Like, what's that conversation like? Do they?
It's no conversation, it's more like they might say, oh, you want to earn money? Oh yeah, you start collecting money for them. They think you're a debt collector. It's baby steps. You start off, they see what you're capable of. I had guys that were tough guys with their hands, and when it went past hands, they don't want nothing to do with it. There's always capabilities. I just kept going and going and going. I had no limits. So it was easy for me to get grabbed up by a crew. Go shoot this guy in broad daylight. I'll go pop the guy in broad day in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's how I was a wild cowboy, so they liked that. The crew I was with was violent. They made a lot of money and, making thousands and thousands of dollars, doing nothing basically. Loan sharking, sports betting, extorting. I love robbing drug dealers. That was my side thing. We used to terrorize them. We weren't supposed to, but we did it. And like I said, I got grabbed up young, and they knew I was capable, and that's what happened. I got put on a crew. I was like 18, 19 years old.
And with Italians, they know us at a young age. They know our fathers, they know our grandfathers, They know in Italy, what part of Italy we're from, so they know who we are growing up. In my case, I went to prison for a shooting case. I got a 5-year sentence. When I came home, the boss of the family, Bruno, came to my house and put me on record with them, meaning he asked me if I wanted to be with him. He's a made member in the Mafia. So putting me on record means that, he's gonna be responsible for me. He goes to his boss and he tells him, and he gets the okay, and now I'm officially an associate on record with the Genovese crime family, and that's how it goes. So now I'm not a made guy, I'm an associate.
Working your way up.
And I'm on a record with them now. And the next step would be if, you're around, and as a couple years go by, they see you growing up, you can become a proposed member. Once you're a proposed member, you're just a 10-minute ceremony away from being an inducted member. And that's when you're officially a made man in the Mafia. So it's a gradual thing, and it starts off with same thing like gangs, young kids, wild. They know who we are. They know what we're about. They've seen us grow up. That's how it is in his neighborhood. I wouldn't know in his neighborhood. His guys would know who the young guys are in Howard Beach, and same thing with us. All the mobsters know who our fathers were,
right.
Grandfathers, and all the way back to Italy. They trace the roots, and that's why it's like it lasted so long. The Mafia, with all over 100 years, and they trace the roots back to Italy. You have to be Italian to be made, so that was another thing that kept it strong and close knit.
Right. So the movies is like you got to be full, but then I heard you don't have to be full.
Well, I'll break it down. So if you go back to the 70s, they trace all your last names. They have to go back. Now they don't. They just trace your fathers now. So my captain was half Irish. He was Italian and Irish. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys I know that were mixed. So now they only trace one side. As long as your last name's Italian, they don't trace all sides now. They used to trace all the names. No more.
I mean, at what point do you guys first get in trouble, or get? So you went to jail for 5 years,
right?
You come home,
right?
So going to jail for 5 years, that and being solid and everything in jail proved to them that you were capable of that life.
Yeah, and I didn't even have to do that, but that's just one step. Mm-hmm. They tell you that one guy, someone disrespected his wife, and I laid for the guy and gave the guy a beating and things like that. Go give a guy a beating, start making money with them. I became a big earner and was making lots of money for them at a young age. So it just gradually progresses, and you get deeper and deeper involved. So you don't really have to do a specific thing. To get inducted back then, you had to murder somebody. So it eventually comes to that. But by the time you're growing up, they know who's capable of pulling the trigger,
right,
and killing somebody. And so some guys are great at making money. And that's why I say associates. Some guys are good at just violence. They couldn't make 2 cents. The ones that are the most dangerous are the ones that are capable of making big money, because money is power, and able to pull the trigger and murder. When you can do that, you're lethal on the streets. And that's mostly what the mafia is about. It was all killers, but there's a lot of people that snuck in, because of they were big earners, somebody that they were related, a father figure or a uncle that got them in, and maybe they didn't have to go and pull the trigger. And you don't necessarily have to pull the trigger, you could just be in a car and get rid of the body afterwards, or you could have dug a hole and put them in the hole and be part of, as long as you were part of the murder. And then when they're ready to make, 3-4 guys, and they'll call you in and they'll induct you into the mafia. But you got to put in work. I think, you're definitely back then had a murder to get in.
Okay.
I know I did, so I know, how that worked.
Okay, so everybody has to do this, and once you've done it, is that like a guaranteed, like?
No, it's not actually. Actually, it's not a guaranteed. I know a lot of guys that commit murder and don't get straightened out. They could, listen. Here's the thing: when your name goes around the list, and if someone don't like you in that family, they could stick you for a while, bro. I know guys that got got backburned for many years. You know what I mean? It happens. It's a lot of politics involved, man.
With multiple bodies.
I was proposed at 27. I never went in. Politics.
Yeah.
Really?
I was too wild. I was doing up shit, all kind of bullshit. This one got locked up. Yeah.
We had one guy in our area where, you could be, have some sort of a vice. Like, you're not going to get made if you're a drug addict. But even though you killed 2-3 people, and if you got a drug problem or, a womanizing problem where, something to do with women, even though you're a stone cold killer, they're not going to put you in and give you your button.
And sometimes they're scared of you. They don't want to give you the power.
That too. And like you said, it's like...
Sometimes they're scared of you. They don't want you in. They might feel like, this guy might try to take my shit. He's a little too wild. You know what I mean? That happens too.
What are some things that can get you killed?
So stealing from the family, you're dead. Putting your hands on another made man, touching his wife, disrespecting a higher up, those are all death sentences. You know what I mean?
Dealing drugs. When I got inducted in the family in 2003, at the ceremony, I was told if I fuck around with narcotics or counterfeit money, I forfeit my life. So they were pretty strict with that. Even though I was a big marijuana distributor in Connecticut and Mass, and they consider that narcotics because these guys are old school mafia guys. They're like, older, and they consider like even marijuana, was narcotics. And so narcotics is a way to get you killed.
What is it
not
with the
following
drugs?
orders? If they tell you to go out and kill, and you don't kill, that's a way to get killed. If there's a lot of ways that you could get killed.
Right.
Like you said, disrespecting, putting your hands on another made guy can get you killed. And around with any made guy's woman in their family, whether it's a wife, you get permission, of course. But if you think a guy in my area, he was going to be a made guy, my friend's father, and his father-in-law eventually became boss of the Springfield faction of the Genovese family. And he was at that time, the boss was older, and he had a young wife, and he was his wife. And they found him in the river with his dick cut off and put in his mouth. And his father-in-law was a made member treacherous killer, like got over a dozen bodies, notorious mobster, and he had to kill his own son-in-law. And that's how it is also in that life. We kill each other. Your best friend is probably going to be the one that you're going to kill when you get made. That's how it, because he's easier to lure in.
Element of surprise.
You're close to him. You trust him. You can't. If I know you're looking to kill me, I'm going to be leery of you. I'm going to have my guard up. But if I trust him like a brother, I'm going to keep my guard down. I might get up and go over here and put a bullet right in the back of my head. So it's always the closest ones that murder you in that life.
Daniel, so I'll answer your question. Why with the drugs? Because before RICO came out, drugs was a million years. So they wanted you to stay away from drugs because they brought so much feds and time. They just kept the rule going. But in all actuality, it was because of the time they gave out. The feds were giving you life sentences, you know what I mean? And then RICO came in doing the same thing. But RICO didn't come into the 80s?
The RICO came out in '68, but they started really using it until the '80s.
Yeah, exactly.
And back then, the bosses, they were involved in heroin, and they still give big sentences, for cocaine and when the crack was out and the heroin. But my thing was marijuana.
Right.
And, you know, you can see marijuana is legal everywhere. In Mass, it's legal, Connecticut, California, out here. But back in the 90s, I was the largest distributor in all of Connecticut and Mass. I dealt with Mexican cartels. I dealt with, you know, getting it in from California. I dealt with Jamaicans. I dealt with black gangs. I dealt with Colombians, all walks of life. Because, you know, you don't consider marijuana narcotics. I mean, you know, the old timers do. They consider that narcotics. I got caught one time with 40 pounds and my boss wanted to have me killed because he wasn't part of that, and he thought that his bosses, that he was involved with me and he was going to get killed.
Yeah.
So he was going to kill me before I, you know, he made a comment to one of my friends that if he thinks he's going to get me clipped, I'll clip him before I get it. And yeah, so it was, they consider that very, like I said, at the ceremony, they said you deal with it, you die.
Can you take me through the ceremony? Is that something you can do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick process. The day I got made, it was 4 of us. Like I said, Genevieve's family, it was New York is where their power base is. Manhattan, Bronx, all over, they're the stronghold. I had to put in a piece of work. I had to go to New York. Now, Springfield is like a 2-hour drive to New York. I had to drive 2 hours. And it's kind of a long story, but long story short, we went down there with silencers and we shot a union boss for the Genovese family bosses. We shot him 9 times while he was getting in his car. 6 months later, because of that, I get inducted formally into the family. So that's what I had to do. Never mind all your other violence and going to prison and hundreds of beatings and fights you got into throughout your whole life, jail time and everything.
He's nothing.
That shooting that I went down to New York, shot the guy 9 times while he was in his car for the Genovese family bosses. 6 months later, I get inducted into the family. Go to New York. You know, you get there, you meet at a restaurant, you leave all your jewelry and your anything, beepers back then. This was back in 03, phones, everything. Guy whispers in your ear when you go into the meeting. Captains, these are all heavyweights too. Everyone you're talking to and dealing with have multiple bodies, multiple murderers. That's what makes the mafia so strong then. And, you know, you had to commit murder. So you're dealing with guys, some guys in New York probably got like 30, 40 bodies. Like, you know, so even in Connecticut, you know, we had guys, Whitey Tropiano, Murder Inc., Billy Grasso, even guys in Springfield, dozen murders. So you're dealing on all that level. Now you go, there was 4 of us that day, and you're dealing with all high-powered guys in the family, in the Genovese family. They did 2 at a time. We were at a restaurant. They drove 2. They got straightened out. Then they picked us up 2, and they drove us to this social club setting. You walk in, a gun and a knife on the table. Boss is sitting at the table. Other captains around. They ask you which finger are you going to shoot with, your trigger finger. You know, mine is my right hand trigger. They prick it. They draw blood. They put it on a saint. They put the saint in your hand. They burn it. You repeat after them about the codes and the omerta, and you break the omerta, you forfeit your life, you die, and as you're doing that, you're going like this, and it's burning in your hands. When you're done, you know, you go like that. The next day, my hands were all black from doing that. And you know, they go over some rules with you. Like I said, the drugs and the counterfeit money. Family comes first above anything. You know, the mafia family, nothing else matters now. You are with a army now, and this is your family. Your wife comes second, your father, your kids. They call you to come. They call you to, you know, they'll ask you if would you murder your brother, a family member, if we told you to. Would you kill for us? Yes. Would you kill if we told you to kill a member of your family? Would you kill for would you do that? Yes. You know, and you say, they ask you, do you know why you're there? No, I don't know why I'm there. So it's a secret society. Do you want to join this secret society? They ask you, and you say yes. And so it's a 10-minute process.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. They don't tell you why you're going there?
Well, you know why you're going.
You know why you're
but
going.
you can't say
you
can't say you know.
They pick you up sometimes in a van. You don't even know who the guys are. I know my friends got straightened out. They know
So like they picked us up. I drove to the restaurant. I mean, I know guys that they'll bring you somewhere, because they don't want law enforcement, number one, to have it surveilled and anything like that. That's number one. So they'll pick you up, bring you over there with a car, switch, get into another car. Sometimes they'll do it 3-4 times before you go to the actual spot. And that's the way they kill people too, by the way, when they're bringing them into a meeting. In Mass, in Medford, Mass, the Patriarchas had a ceremony and they were inducting 4 guys into their family in Boston. And that ceremony was tape recorded. It's, if you look online, you'll see Mafia ceremony taped, Patriarca family, and they got the whole thing on tape. They're speaking Italian. The 4 guys came in, they took their blood oaths. You can hear the whole thing, like, the family comes first. Same thing I just told you. It's all on tape from the Patriarchas. I think that's like one of the only times ever a ceremony got taped. That's why they're so cautious when it comes to that. And then, you're done. They get up, they kiss you on the cheek, and they go, "Hello, friend. Now you're a friend of ours." And they kiss me on the cheek, and they say, "Hello, friend." What made it important for me was I was made directly in New York. And he'll tell you it's, getting made out. I'm from Mass, and we control Mass in Connecticut. But when you get straightened out by the bosses in New York from that family, you have all the power. Anything outside, like I can walk amongst any gangsters in the country and get recognized as a powerful mafia figure because I got straightened out with the bosses of the family. See, we have a faction in Springfield, and if you're the boss, you can straighten your guys out, but you're going to straighten them out in Springfield. It still holds weight. You're still the Genovese crime family. They have to give you the okay to do that. But when you get straightened out in the in New York, it's like you're more powerful because you're direct with the bosses. You're direct with the guys that call all the shots. And that's what I was. Because of that shooting I had to go do in New York, I did it for the bosses. I didn't do it for the local mafia bosses. I did it for the bosses that actually controlled the family. And they loved me. They loved my crew. It was like, that. It was just, and that's what got me straightened out.
You guys mentioned the RICO.
Right.
How much did the RICO change things for the mafia?
It crushed it. I'll tell you why. They came up with these rules or laws to get the people behind the curtain. Okay, you can never get the guy ordering. So they made this thing, conspiracy RICO, where now, just on hearsay almost, you could be, if the shoe fits, wear it, pretty much, put it that way. You got guys getting, let's say I do a shooting, right? I did one in 2006. I got 3 to 6 years for it in the state. Bullshit time, 4 years. That same shooting you do under the RICO Act, the guy don't have to die. You're getting 30 years maybe, 25 years, because you're doing it to what? Up your position in the organization. They make these magical words, and they make it sound horrible on paper, and these guidelines are ridiculous. You could cop out to a 10 to life guideline. A 10 to life guideline for conspiracy to commit with the attempt, you never touch the guy. You just did the attempt. You didn't have to hit him. Now you have a 10 to life. It goes by your record now. It can even be higher, so you could have 10 to life with a recommendation of 18 years. For a shooting, you never even hit nobody. Think about that. So RICO is bad with gambling, sports betting, loan sharking. They have RICO minimum mandatories. You're in trouble, bro. It's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, it was a way to give guys large sentences. Back before you'd only get, 5-year sentences, 10-year sentences, and it had to be, and you couldn't tie everything together. If you are involved in a RICO conspiracy, and there's like 20 charges, you just got to be involved in 2 of the 20, and you don't even know who those other guys are, right. And you're wrapped up in the RICO conspiracy. And what the thing about RICO is, if you lose at trial, RICO carries a 20-year sentence. So just alone with the RICO, and the RICO cases are so easy to beat. That's why the feds, when they say that their conviction rate on those cases are 99%, is because it's impossible to beat just the RICO part of it. You could be maybe a murder, you can meet, like where they need witnesses and things like that, a direct case, a state case. But when they put these conspiracies in, and a guy's talking on a wiretap and mentions your name, that you're involved in the conspiracy. So now what also the RICO does is it enhances you based on your level of record that you have. So we had a record since I've been 15 years old, the worst assault and batteries, drug cases, all kinds of violent shootings. That enhances you. And then how many federal cases you got, that enhances you. If you were a boss or a larger figure in the organization, if you had a larger role, that enhances you. If you were a made member, a guy in our area pled guilty, he was going to get 2 years. He ended up getting 3. The mob boss was talking to an FBI. So now it's on record that he's a made guy. He got an extra year. So that enhanced him because he was a made guy in the family. Yeah, so the RICO, and now what the RICO did to the mafia, it's doing to all the gangs. They're getting the hit with the same charges. I was
Killed.
in jail with all these drug gangs, and this one kid, he goes, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't know nobody on the case. But one time he went, and he got, and here's the thing about RICO, they go for 5-year investigations, right? He came in like on the last 3 months of it, did one sale with some guy, doesn't even know the other, because these are like, they come at you. Another thing, RICO, they scoop up 40, 50, 60 people. You read the newspapers of Italian organized crime, 100-man arrest, 47-man arrest. Now they're doing the same thing to the drug dealers and the gangs.
The gangs, they got no one else to
100-man
do.
arrest. They just, 100 Latin kings. 45 bloods, let's say, with the gangs and everything. So they're using the same tactics that they did on the mafia to the gangs now. And you don't, like, the kid didn't even know how, 90% of the people, he was in prison walking around scratching his head. He goes, Anthony, what is RICO? What is this thing? He goes, I don't know nobody here.
It's design. It's almost unbeatable. My boss beat it. It was like the biggest upset in like Eastern District history. It was like he was admitting to crimes on wiretaps. He was charged with Lufthansa heist from Goodfellas. He was charged with it in 2014. He was found not guilty on the murders. Everything not guilty. It was the more media attention to any case ever for the mob. He beat it.
Right.
Nobody knows how he beat it.
And the reason he beat it, part with that case happened, when was
78, and the one murder was 69. It was
so
old,
you're so
you know?
old. I mean, they're throwing out a case and everything, but you're talking a 30-year-old case,
40-year-old
case, and they still brought it to trial because
Yes.
of this RICO. The RICO can keep going and going and going because it's a criminal enterprise, and you're always committing crimes. So they
Right,
brought
tell
the
'em.
case 40 years ago.
Tell him without murder, it could still go back 40 years as long as you keep on committing RICO acts.
And that's what we do. We never stop committing
50 years,
crimes.
they go back.
Even associating, like you're associating with other mobsters. You're part of the
Part
conspiracy.
of the conspiracy. It doesn't matter. It keeps going. It's crazy. It's like almost like unfair. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, it's great. It's designed to f you. And like I says, when he said they lock up 100 guys, 80 of them are cooperating. You don't even know because they don't glorify the gang members. You won't even know. The Italians, you cooperate, you're in the front page of the paper. That's the difference. They just change their name and go to a different project building and join a different gang. I've seen it 100 times. I'm saying so with us, we're on the front page, gangland, all that stuff. Rat. Meanwhile, the gang members are like, out of 100, I'm 70 of them are cooperating. You don't even know. It's crazy.
What were some of the famous cases or famous guys you guys like looked up to coming up?
John Gotti, Vinny Asaro, who I worked for. A lot of them were in my neighborhood. There was so many. I mean, we could just go on for days. I lived in a mafia soap opera where all the big names are from. So I can't even, we could sit here all day. You know what I mean?
You want to idolize, like, at a young age, like Lucky Luciano, and you're watching the movies, and you want to be involved. You loved it, like, that's another thing. The movies, you weren't, as a young kid, you're watching that and say, I want to be that. And you don't realize that, once you start living that life, you're going to die or go to prison. You ain't making it out. But, you want to be part of that life. And it is a great life. It's a fun life. It's, electrifying, the money that's involved, the power, it's intoxicating. But, like I said, mafia, you're going to have to murder. Those murders are going to come back to haunt you. And then, you could be murdered, because you're not going to go through your whole life without getting enemies. But John Gotti, that murder was the biggest. I was in Florida when that happened. My uncle, we were down there. That was in 1985. We were coming back from around Christmas time. My uncle had kilos of coke in the car. I was a young kid, like 16 years old, 17, right around there. And we got pulled over. We got arrested. We got bailed out. And when we got back, and that was the same time when we got back, it was like that week Gotti assassinated Paul Castellano, and that was like one of the biggest murders of all time.
Man.
A murder that we did in Springfield, it was rivals that, but New York being what New York is, I mean, it's just, that was like, but our
President
murder,
got killed.
like
right?
in Connecticut and Mass, we murdered our boss, and that was the same notoriety. It received the same notoriety, of that type of a murder. But yeah, you look at murders like that, and that those big events, and back then, if you were Italian and you were on the streets in the 80s, you wanted to be part of that.
Right.
You walking into, and everywhere you go down to Florida, they're in control of the nightclubs, like in our area, the strip clubs, the nightclubs, the restaurants. You walk into, you're treated with respect. Some sort of way, a mobster is either owns it or is somewhere a silent partner in it, and the respect and power that you get. You never wait in lines. You get treated, sometimes, you don't even pay for it. You don't get a check. I mean,
Right.
it's just, it was a great life. I mean, it was the best. And then, but the murders come and,
When the Castellano thing happens, when the murder happens, does everybody know that this is John Gotti's work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He was supposed to be killed, his whole crew, him and his whole crew. We're going to die over the wiretaps. Everybody knows that. They were dealing heroin. They all got locked up for it. They're all dead. He has to kill them all. By law, by mafia law, they all have to die.
I was a young kid, so when I
Yeah.
looked at that, it was like, just, and it was from New York too, so it wasn't, but it was, I think right away, it was like mentioned in the papers that he was getting the blame for it, that he was the new boss of the family, and right away, I think they were reporting that they knew who was behind it.
Okay, now, looking up to John Gotti and
The Gambino family.
That's
Gambino
Gambino,
family.
yeah.
And it wasn't that you looked up for him, it was just when that murder happened, he was like a rock star in the mafia underworld.
he was.
So it was like, and then he was cocky and he wore suits and, he rubbed it right in their face. He was beating cases. I mean, how could you not, as a young gangster, not look up and idolize that guy,
Yep.
I mean, but we were the Genovese family. On the opposite side, our boss walked around in a bathrobe and slippers on the streets of Manhattan. So that was the contrast of it, and I idolized him. You got one guy walking around in $3,000 suits, killing his boss, and it was like, like flamboyant as
crazy, I
fuck.
know.
And then you got this guy walking around pretending he's crazy
Yeah.
in a bathrobe, and he's 10 times more powerful probably than Gotti was, because he was already a boss and everything like that. In fact, they were going to kill Gotti. They had several attempts to kill Gotti. Our family.
Oh,
did.
they wanted him dead.
Yeah, they tried.
They
The
blew up
guys,
the car,
guys
the chick
pled
killed
guilty.
it. Yeah, they were trying to get him like crazy.
Genovese guys out of New Jersey pled guilty. Yeah, our family boss, the Chingiganti, ordered Gotti to be murdered.
that's when they killed the friend, right, with the car bombing?
Yeah, right. Frank DeChico.
Frank DeChico.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Were you guys always locked in with the families that you were locked in with, or?
No, I was originally supposed to be Gambino. I was born Gambino, but I didn't go with them. Over something that had happened, I ended up switching and going with the Banos. That happens. You can't be made in two different families, but you could be on record with somebody and get, put to another crew, but they could block you for life. I mean, you go to another family and they could block you, not getting straightened out, because they're all one. At the end of the day, they might not be the same family, but if a high-ranking captain says, I don't want them straightened out, you're not getting straightened out. They could block you.
Really, just like that, just
Oh,
one
absolutely.
person.
Vinny Asaro blocked Mike Padavona for 12 years in the Lucchese family, and Mike Padavona's father-in-law was the boss of the family. His father-in-law was Vic Amuso, and he got chased from Vinny. Vinny blocked him. He couldn't get straightened out from the boss of the family. Think about that. It's respect. They respect each other. I'm blocking them. Once they put the block on you, a guy like Vinny or someone that's really respected, you're not going nowhere in that life. Go become a bus driver. I'm saying you're not going nowhere. It's crazy.
No matter what you do.
No matter what you do, unless he takes it off. He had to come back to the Bananas and get straightened out. How about that?
Damn.
Yeah.
So with us, Connecticut, Mass, you had other families. Springfield, Mass, it was Genovese. So 90% of the guys in that area, in that city, are going to get made with Genovese. But you had we had guys that were close with the Patriarchas. One guy in particular, Gaetano Milano, he got straightened out with the Patriarchas. He got his button, and he lived in Springfield area. So it's all who you surround yourself, who put you on record with them. Like in his area, his cities and everything, you got 5 families. So you got 5 different. You could live in Howard Beach, but you could still another family could like you and put you on record first.
Absolutely.
Before someone got. With us, you had the Patriarchas, dominant, and the Genovese. But another thing that happens too, guys go to prison, and they go into a federal prison, and they're around, say, a boss of a family, and that
Right.
guy takes a liking to him, and he wants him to be on record with him. He gets out, and they propose him into their family just because of they were in prison together and they formed a bond, and so that's other ways. I know guys that happened to, guys in Boston that got made with the Philadelphia crime family because of. That were going to get made also with that family because of prison stays that they had with them.
What was your first time seeing or hearing about a friend having a close friend having to kill like his best friend
So
or close friend?
So I had a friend of mine named Tyler Barker. Nobody knew that he did it, but we just didn't understand. This guy Marty was killed back in 2002, and that was Todd's best friend and Jerry Bruno's best friend. And there was a guy named Howie who later on wore a wire. And nobody knew exactly who killed Marty. We just knew he was left in the street with a bullet in his head. And what ends up happening in 2009, Howie comes around, he starts wearing a wire on them for a couple years. And I remember when they found out Howie was cooperating because they took him out. So Howie disappeared. So everybody's nervous now. So I'm doing a 3 to 6. I come home and I'm with Todd all the time and I says, "What are you so worried about? You're a bookmaker. Like you're not serious." He kept looking at me going, "Yeah, I'm a bookmaker." All of a sudden it was all over TV. It was the biggest mafia sweep ever. 140 something people they locked up in 2011 January. A lot of my best friends were top 10 in the indictment. And all of a sudden it comes out that Tyler Barker and Jerry Bruno killed their best friend, shot him in the head and threw him in the street for the life. So, that happens. It happens a lot. And, everybody's in shock that he actually did that. It's like his best friend. They lured him. Like you said, element of surprise, guards down. I got to talk to you. They owed him a bunch of money. The higher-ups didn't want to pay him his money, and they said kill him. They sent his friends at him. And his friend shot him in the head when he wasn't looking. That's how it goes.
Damn.
And I told you it's always, you just asked the question, but we were talking about it before. Your friends are the closest ones. The stories in my area, there was a hit that was going to take place, and they always get, like I said, somebody that was close to you. This one particular hit, it was the Schiavelli brothers, and they used, they were both bosses of the Genovese faction, and they used this Babette Schiavelli, who was the boss in the mid-90s, to lure his, he was close with this guy, but they couldn't get at him because the guy was always around somebody, and he was always, he was savvy gangster, and it's hard to kill, when the guy's always on guard and always, he's got people. You never think if, well, they're not going to kill me because I'm with my wife, because
Right.
the Italians don't
Not in front
kill
of kids and
the woman.
Not
So in
allowed.
this case,
Total against that.
in this case, they killed them all. They killed him, his girlfriend, and the dog, the car, and they had them all disappear. You never seen anything. And that was his best friend, but he got ordered by the boss, Sam Kafari, Big No Sam, who was a legendary boss, was at the Appalachian meeting in the 50s, the big one. He ordered him to kill him. You cannot say that you're not going to kill him or you die.
Right.
It was his best friend. He was the best man with him at his wedding. And so when they killed him, they had to kill his girlfriend, the dog, the
I can't
car,
believe that.
and it all disappeared to this
Wow.
day. They never knew where they were.
Yeah.
He was so upset by it. He didn't leave his house for like 3 weeks. He was hurt that he had to kill his friend like that. It probably was a horrible murder. They killed the girl and everything. So that's like stories that we knew that took place. But in my case, I pled guilty to conspiracy to kill my best friend, one of my best friends growing up.
Yeah.
They put a false label on him, said he was an informant. He wasn't. The guys that were informants, the Schiavelli guy that I was telling you about and his family, the Bazils and that part were the informants. And they put a label on him, and I pled guilty to conspiracy to murder him. My boss, who's like my mother's cousin, I had to kill him because I got an order to kill him. And now this guy was like a father figure to me my whole life. Best friends with my father, like a father figure to me. He was the one that put me on record with him in 1991, but I got an order to kill him. I had to kill him. So. You get an order, it's your friends. If you don't do it, you're a dead man.
What did he do?
You kill him.
No. What did he do that got him that
It
order?
could be anything. My first shooting was my best friend.
No.
20 years old.
No, but the guy, what do you say? What the guy do to get killed? Why he was going to get killed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, my friend, they suspected him. They put a label on him that he was an informant. Come to find out, he wasn't. The guys that put the label on him sat down and proffered with U.S. attorneys. That's cooperating. They went to grand juries, testified at grand juries. That's cooperating. Talked to state organized crime task force and FBI agents. That's cooperating. They put a label on him. Conspiracy to murder I got charged with. But my boss, I told you the case where the guy got more time. He was going to get 2 years and he got 3 because there was a 302. A 302 is a government paper that says that you sat down and talked with the, anytime you talk with a Fed and it's about anything related to the criminal activity, they have to report that. So it's called a 302. He was talking to an FBI agent. They had conversations. He told him that the guy was a made guy. When the guy went to go get sentenced, this kid was a made guy in the Springfield faction of the Genovese family, Emilio Fusco. When he goes to get sentenced, he gets an extra year in prison. He says, I'm not a made guy. They show him the paper.
Oh, man.
On the paper, it's got Al Bruno telling the FBI agent that he's a made guy.
Oh,
It's a
God.
report. Now, I'm going to continue this, but that story right there, you ask 100 gangsters,
Dead.
it's
Automatically dead.
100 out of
Nothing you
100.
can do about it.
Even like you ask
Nothing you can
anybody,
do about it.
it was a 302 that came out. So that paper gets brought to the bosses in New York, and the bosses in New York ordered his murder, and I had to participate in that.
Oh, so he did cooperate then.
Technically he did, but he didn't know he did. Kind of something like
so
that, right?
what they do is these
So
gangsters.
was he involved in the life?
Yeah, he was
He was a
rank.
boss. He was a
the
mob
rank.
boss.
He
He
was the
murdered
area.
people. He was a notorious boss.
Yeah.
Adolfo Bruno, Al Bruno, notorious boss. That was the murder I'm telling you about. That was the most notorious mafia murder in Mass, Connecticut, probably ever.
Okay.
That was like a Castellano hit, but it was done in Mass. And where I grew up in the city, I grew up in, and I pled guilty to that. So it was, he was a notorious gangster.
So he did this, and nobody knew he did it until that happened.
Let me. I was going to tell you something. With the mob, what they do now, and what they did for years, Lucky Luciano, going back to those days, they work with law enforcement. Even like these cartels, they set their own. They work with the government in Mexico. They work with, getting shipments of drugs stopped, getting their enemies arrested. They work with their governments. So the Italians, being a powerful organization, you want to infiltrate law enforcement because that makes you stronger. Say if you have law enforcement telling you who the informants are that are trying to destroy your organization, well, now you can kill them. When law enforcement is trying to put listening devices in your cars, and which they did to me, and all over your restaurants that you go to and places that you meet, and you have law enforcement telling you, hey, don't, like right in here, don't talk in here, there's listening devices, and you're having business meetings, you're not going to talk in here no more. So, and to get rid of your enemies. All right, listen, you're going to kill your enemy, right? You're going to end his life. What's the difference? They look at it as you're going to end his life or put him in jail for 30 years. And they don't do it. They put somebody else too to do it, these bosses today. Like Carmen Persico, it was on the front page of the newspaper that he was an informant. Now, was he really an informant? A guy spent his whole life in prison. But his number one killer on the street, Scarpa, was an informant for 30 years.
30 years.
You're telling me that Persico didn't know that he was an informant? He killed how many people? 50?
More.
The
Grim Reaper's nickname.
And
was.
like
We don't even
Whitey
know how many
Bulger-
people he killed. He was working with the FBI. He was kidnapping people for the FBI. Ku Klux Klan members.
Right. The guys that they found in Mississippi or whatever, the 3 bodies, he's the one that got him, put a gun in the Ku Klux Klan's mouth and everything. That's how they found those bodies. Whitey Bulger, you heard of him?
Yep.
My guy killed him in prison. Whitey they were doing the same thing in Boston. He had the guy Stephen Flemmi around. They were the Winter Hill Gang, not the Italian Mafia. They were the Winter Hill Gang, strong Irish and Italian organized crime group. And that exactly what I told you, that's what they were doing. They were using the FBI, getting told who the informants are. They were killing everybody. But they were getting the information from law enforcement. And, went on for so many years. The guy I just told you about, Al Bruno, we had the local U.S. state attorney, the state district attorney in our pocket from the 70s to the 90s. Why? Because the mafia murdered for the man. They killed, there was a guy messing around with his daughter, giving her drugs, a crazy Italian immigrant that came from Italy, my friend's father. And they warned him to stay away. The district attorney that comes after us to put us in prison went to the mafia and said, hey, this, you're with the guys that can put us in jail's daughter, giving her cocaine. This is back in the 70s. So he went to the mob, and you couldn't just put your hands on this guy. And this guy was a dangerous, Italian dude. I mean, he was like notoriously dangerous murderer. And so you couldn't control him. So they killed him. They found him in the trunk of a car, bullet riddled. And because of that, the district attorney now is owned by us. So for the next 20 years, I was getting arrested for assault and batteries at a young age, dismissed. You know, when would you ever see the head state attorney when you're getting arraigned? The next case, Anthony Arillotta, come in, and then he stands up. Oh, I got that case, Your Honor. We're going to postpone it to such and such. You know what I'm saying? I'm 16 years old, a 17-year-old kid, and the head guy's in the courtroom waiting and going, yeah, I got that case. Dismissed. But the flip side of that, the enemies that the Schiavellis and Bruno had, you know, the Mafia faction, they had guys like they didn't like, the Puglianos, Campides, Larry Stone, like West Side type guys, right? They were sicking him on them. So it's like they protect who they want. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a dangerous, treacherous. You don't know who's pulling the strings. You know you got power with the U.S. attorney, but you don't know if he's using that power and putting them on you. He's supposed to be protecting you. If we're a brotherhood, I'm supposed to protect everybody. But I protect him because he's loyal to me, and these guys aren't making money with us. They're a different faction, so I sicked them on them, and they end up getting prison sentences. That's what happens.
There was a few things that get brought up, and I'm like, I don't get a chance to follow. But you mentioned Whitey Bulger. You said your guys killed him. What do you mean by that?
So one of my guys in my crew that murdered with me, several, murders and shootings, he was in prison, and Whitey Bulger was an informant. They put him out there that he was an FBI informant from the 70s.
Yes.
He went on the lam. He was on the lam. He was number one on the most wanted.
Right under
Bin Laden. Yeah.
He was number one until Bin Laden.
Yeah, but then Bin Laden was number one, and then he got killed. Mm-hmm. And he was on the FBI's most wanted. He took off and he was on the run for 16 years, from 95 to 2011. The guy was a dangerous, psychopathic Irish murderer.
He killed a lot of people.
I mean, they finally got him for 19 murders. He killed women, but back in the 60s, they had those gang wars where there were 60, 70 guys that got killed, and he was he was on the front line. He was killing them on the front line. He wasn't one of those guys that would, send somebody. When he got told that there was an informant, he went himself with his guys and was killing them right on the streets of Boston. Dangerous guy. Was in state prison with all of his guys, and they all would never dare cross him. And I'm talking, I was with killers. I was guys in prison that killed 7 guys in prison alone. This guy had bodies. This guy, they weren't afraid of nobody in the world, but they would never cross Whitey. So it came out that Whitey was an informant. It was 90%. He infiltrated the FBI. Like I said, he was getting all that information, and he was using it for his advantage. But he was still labeled as an informant. He went to prison, got found guilty. He got life sentences, 19 murders. He gets put in a prison. Then he ends up going to this transfer to Hazleton, West Virginia.
The worst penitentiary in the country.
Yeah, there's 13 penitentiaries. Anybody that's got any type of proffer agreement, any type of baggage on their PSI, RSI, whatever, yes. The PSI, and it's there. You got to check in. You can't stay in the prison. I mean, it's
not in a penitentiary. Not in a penitentiary. Hazleton, people getting killed every other month.
He was there. He got there at nighttime. He got there at nighttime, like say 10 o'clock at night, and 5 o'clock the doors open, and he was dead 3 minutes later.
Damn.
He didn't make it out of the day.
He was 90 years old in a wheelchair. But still, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. He did a lot of bad things, and
people loved when he got killed. They would cheer.
Oh yeah, they loved it. Yeah, of course.
He killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that you heard about that maybe had the most bodies?
For New York, it's either going to be Grim Reaper or Roy DeMeo. The Murder Machine, his crew, they probably killed over, I don't know, 50, 60, who knows, something in that area, or the Grim Reaper. That's the two most prolific hitmen that you'll see come out of the 5 families, pretty much.
What were like the rumors and stuff you would hear?
Oh, he had a crew where you go in there, they had one guy that cuts you, drains your blood, chops you up. It was like a whole little team he had. They was doing the most heinous things.
And like we say, you get rid of the body. I mean, they were
chopping people up, eating in front of them. It was
chopping
sick
them.
shit.
They were hanging in the bathroom with their blood draining out of them. while they were waiting for the blood to drop out of them, and like they were eating, and
It was sick shit.
then they would chop them up and put them in different bags and get rid of the bags.
They were killing dozens and dozens of people.
What were some things that were getting people killed? Were they just killing
Anything.
random people?
Paul Castellano's hit team, and then they ended up killing him. Paul got rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, once you kill, some people like it, and for the slightest infraction, sometimes they kill people for no reason. It's like, they suspected him. That's the number one thing. They suspected him of being an informant. Come to find out he wasn't, but they murdered him and chopped him up and see you later. If they even thought about it. Or you're close to the boss on
Catch
a
a
case.
case. You catch a case.
No, but like say the boss got an indictment and he's got 3 people on the RICO charges with him, and he wants to isolate himself. He figures with those 3 not on my case, I can beat the case. He'll whack those 3 guys for no reason, and now he's got a great shot of getting found not guilty now because those 3 guys, were the criminals, and they're not there no more.
So a lot of guys are like victims of just bad politics.
That happens a lot.
Happens a lot, man. Yeah. Happens a lot.
Damn. And you said the Grim Reaper, Scarfo.
Gregory Scarpa, man. Nobody knows his number. It's high. It's high, man.
That was the guy we were talking about with Persico.
It could be 50. It could be 60. There's no exaggeration on that. It could be somewhere like that. He's been killing people since like the 50s, 40s. You don't even know.
Yeah,
you don't even know.
You don't like Whitey Tropiano. He was from Connecticut. He was with Murder Inc. He was best friends with my uncle, and back then, these murders, they were killing so many people back then. Like, it wouldn't be nothing for a guy to have 50, be involved in 50 murders.
What were disagreements like between MAID members? Because you hear that like MAID members can't raise their voice at each other, or
That's not true.
they're never supposed to fight with each other.
Put their
like,
hands on
Each other. They raise their voice, though. I've seen
Yeah.
them. I've seen them yell and scream at each other in their faces. I mean, like I said, it depends. There's a lot of, it could be over anything. Territory, money issues, beefs, this guy's with me, this guy, all kinds of politics, soap opera bullshit. It's always something new. It could be over anything, man, Anything, little things, beefs, areas, strip clubs. He got money out of me. He's not supposed to. Joker pokers are in the club. You can't put joker pokers in there. All kinds of politic bullshit. That's really what goes on every day.
I didn't let you. What was the question? Like the.
Why is guys getting in beefs with each other?
like
Why?
with each other, like
What's the reasons of the beefs? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
or,
it could
or
be
fights.
Yeah, it could be territory.
You ain't
like with
fighting
us,
though.
Like in New York, there's 5 families. There's a beef every 10
Argue.
steps on the of the pavement. Because this guy's with me, or that that's our number business, and so there's always sit downs and beefs. Whose customers is it? With us, it would be territory. Connecticut was mostly Genovese, but it was loaded with patriarchas. They got arrested in the early 90s, and that's when we kind of like went in there and hard and took over like all of Connecticut. But territory beefs come up. Customers that end up owing money, like a loan shark customer, and
that's big. Yeah.
Beefs like that. But it's mostly interfamily beefs.
It's all politics.
When it's
Nobody's putting their hands on each other.
no,
That's rare.
when it's interfamily, it's a sit down. We have to go by rules. So I got a beef. Me and him got a beef. You're the boss, right? I'm beefing to you. He's beefing to you. We get called in at a sit down. I mean, I'm talking. It's not someone's going to get killed, but it's just a beef over.
Well, explain to me.
anything.
No
Like,
guns in there. No, the sit downs.
yeah, like sit down. But if they call you into a sit down for whatever, you can't bring a weapon. You can't bring your crew. You got a big crew. You got to come by yourself. You're not walking in there with your 4 guys with guns. When they call you in and you're going to sit in front of the boss, you're coming alone with no weapon.
And you're scared to death.
And that's why the mafia was so dangerous, because you could have 30 murders under you, right? And you're a badass killer, right? But when you get called in front of that boss,
You're shaking.
Yeah, it's like, you don't know if you're leaving that meeting. So that's why it's such a dangerous organization. A lot of
Explain to me. You got to come in when you get called.
Yeah, you don't. If you don't come in, you're dead.
You're dead. You have
right?
to go.
And if you do come in, you might be dead.
Everything you worked for will be thrown out by you not going to that sit down. You could kill 20 people for them. You could be the best guy since sliced bread. They call for you, don't come in because you think you're getting killed. That's it. You're no good. You're better off just dead or taken off.
And then they're still going to come after you to kill you because you didn't come in. So it's not like you're safe, but now it's going to be harder to get you because now you know that they're actually hunting you. But they're going to have to do a cowboy style, leave your body on the street and something like that. The other way, they call you in and you can make the body disappear.
Yeah, you're gone. You never get found.
What's your guys' like worst situation where you got called in for a sit down and you thought like,
I
I'm
always
not
tell,
making it out of here?
I have one really bad one. I mean, I had a bunch of them because I was doing up shit. So I stuck up John Gotti's right-hand man, Quack Quack's son's card game. I didn't know it was his card game. I stuck up the guy coming out of it, me and my partner. We pistol whipped him. It was really bad. And we got caught. Whatever the case may be, I always tell this story. But the next day, I told you, my doorbell was ringing, and it was Ronnie and Mike. And I went down there, and they just went ballistic on me. He's like, go upstairs, get me the stuff. And then I had to go meet them in a funeral parlor basement. I wasn't going to go. They send you in the worst places, by the way, to make you think something bad's going to happen. I'm a kid. I'm like 20. I don't know no better. I'm like, yo, I'm dead, bro. They're going to kill me. I went down there. I had to meet the other guys. I got abused because all my family's Gambino. My uncle was a higher up over there. So I kind of knew I was all right, but I didn't. I got a little beaten from my people, but it should have been worse. If it was like 90s, 80s, they would have put a bullet in my head 100%. I pistol whipped them. I beat him with a gun.
And he was a maiden guy?
No, but he was on record with a made guy, which is just as bad. And it was at their card game, which it makes it look like my people could have sent me there. So it becomes like a beef within. So it was like a whole bad situation. And they're all friends with each other, so it made it worse. And Ronnie's like, you got to go meet them. I think they were just trying to really scam me, but me and Bobby had to get a little beaten for that, which we should have been killed. Vinny and them told me you should be dead for this, like what you did. You know what I mean?
Did you have to do anything to make up for
No,
what you
just
did?
basically I tried to explain to them we didn't know it was your place. We got put onto a score. The guy was coming on 50,000 in a Masterpiece Rolex. We didn't know. We got put on by this jerk off and didn't tell us. And it turned out to be a fucking Gambino stronghold card game. And I should have been killed, 100% yes. 100% walk the plank for that. Yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, so I never was, the time I got caught with the marijuana, I got my house raided. I was on record with the Genovese family, but I didn't have to worry. I mean, I was never worried in my life about getting killed, ever, about anything. You know, to this day, I'm never worried. That's just how I am. But when I did get caught with the marijuana, that was a killable offense because my boss, he thought he could get killed. That's how serious they took it. But I never got called into a sit down over that. What that happened back then, I was shelved. I was shelved. I was banished, like, from being around mobsters. They took me off of the, formerly associate with them and put me on rec with them. They took that off, and I was no longer a part of them.
And you got put on the back burner, right?
Yeah, 96 to 98.
Yeah.
One other time, I was a huge, sick gambler. Like, I used to bet 5,000 a game, 100 games a day. I mean, I lost 450,000 in Vegas in 1 week. I was a major gambler, and so we had our own sports gambling business. We had 100, and we controlled, like, say 150 were betting with our office, but there was 100 other bookmakers that throughout Connecticut and Mass, probably 200. So in our particular office, we had like 150, and I was in control of running it, and I was betting my own office. And I was losing. I was betting 2,000 a game was the guy's limits, and I had 10 guys betting my office, all for 2,000 a game, and they were all betting the same game. So it ended up I was like betting 20,000 a game. Like, I would call up one guy and put like, yeah, J.O. I put initial J.O. He's a doctor, I said, out of Connecticut. J.O. was me. I would put Frankie. Who's Frankie? Frankie owns a pizza shop in New Haven,
Connecticut. Just make shit up. Everyone does that shit, yeah.
So I got 10 guys. I'm losing. I'm stuck 200,000. I get called into a sit down, and I get called into where they murdered people at this Italian club in the South End of Springfield in the basement. And at this sit down, I get called to the sit down down there. So it was kind of like, they asked me who are these guys betting, and I said they're customers. Well, then who are they? And they pressed me on it, and I told them they are. And then finally, I got mad, and I said, what the is the problem? Do they pay when they lose? And they say, yeah. Then what the is the problem?
Right.
And he goes, you're right. He goes, all right then. You like the bit? You don't want the business? I'll tell them not to bet no more. But it was all me anyway.
Yeah, it was smart,
So it was like a
you get in big trouble for what
touchy
he's doing.
situation.
What he's doing is big violation.
Another guy probably would have been shitting their pants. But I mean, I just reversed it and put it onto him like that. And then, but that was.
I've seen guys get their homes taken over like that, stuff like that, mortgage their homes. I seen people have to remortgage their homes over the situation he was doing and couldn't pay. They're on a half sheet. They're gambling on their fucking sheet. They're getting their balls kicked in because if you're on a half sheet, right? If you lose 100 grand, you only pay 50. What happens if you lose 300 grand? Got to pay 150. You know what I'm saying? The office got to get their money on Friday. F you pay me. That's real. Where's the money? I seen guys do that. You know what I mean? They're betting on their office trying to get, money, and they get killed. I seen guys that, we beat a guy till he literally shit himself over it. He thought he was going to die. We beat him, me and Ronnie. Shit was in his pants. It was in his, he shit himself. That's how bad we were beating him over that. And he had to remortgage his home. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Now, does everybody or almost everybody at some point break a rule accidentally or on purpose?
100%. Yeah. 100%. Depends on what you break, though. I mean, you know what I mean?
I mean, the old timers, as you get older,
Yeah.
they probably don't. But
Yeah,
growing up young, I mean, they tell you
100%.
not to sell drugs, you sell
Yeah.
drugs. I mean, it's you're gonna do
break.
something that doesn't follow those old school rules, especially the drug game. How you gonna tell a young kid today, growing up, when the main way to make money for young kids today are drugs. Like with me, it was marijuana. I dealt with cocaine too. I stayed away from the heroin and the crack and all that shit. But marijuana was a lucrative business. I made millions and millions of dollars selling it. How you think, and so the guys that listened to them, that were on record, listening to their bosses in the Genovese family, and they tell them, you can't f around with drugs. Meanwhile, I'm making millions of dollars and they got their tongue hanging out broke, got no money to feed their family because there's nothing out there. They got a little loan sharking, little sports gambling, which
Not
those are
much.
great businesses, but you got to be real savvy running them too. So the drugs is like an easy business, selling them. So they listen to them, and you're telling, how you going to tell kids today? Not, and in today's world, there's no money on the street. Drugs is the money. I mean, still you get big sentences. Marijuana is where I would have stayed with. Marijuana is the drug business I would have chose to stay in. But there's no, as far as the Italian rackets, those are pretty much wiped up and washed away. You can still make money in the Italian in the organized crime rackets, but you can't make enough money to feed a mafia family. It's just not, sports is legal now. The numbers business is just about, like I had a big numbers business, but that's been legal since the 70s. So unless you're established and you had that business the whole time, that's pretty much gone. Loan sharking is a risky business because, you don't want to lend out too much. So you want to keep the loans on a small level.
That's right.
So it's like, where's the big money coming in? The vending business now was big, huge. The casino vending, the Joker pokers, but now there's casinos everywhere. They just put a MGM in downtown Springfield. So it's like, before they used to go to the local bars, we had control over all of them, bringing in us 150, 200,000 a week, our end. The bars end up making that, we end up making that, because we had, all that control. Now the casino's there. Why they love going to the casino, and it's legitimate and this and that, and so that wiped up. So there's nothing on the streets as far as organized crime rackets unless you're established and already got them going. Sports gambling is legal.
What is the mafia like today? It's dead.
Washed up. Like he said, it's like a fraternity. It's washed up. It's it's over. The violence is gone. They still make money, but the RICO cases are bland now. There's nothing on them. It's just more of like loan sharking, gambling. That's really what's going on. And some legit businesses. It's completely gone. The violence is gone. They had to take the violence out. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I seen a video where, instead of killing you now, they just banish you. Like you're just not
the
welcome.
one I said there.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, that's what I
correct.
say. Yeah, it's like so murder is out of the question now, and if they wanted to kill anyone that ended up getting out of their life, say cooperating, they wouldn't have enough bullets to kill them all. The streets are flooded with informants. Number one. Number two, it's the murder is what gives you those big sentences. So if you just stuck with the rackets that I was telling you, and you get hit with a RICO and you plead it out, you go to jail 2-3 years, if that.
5 years at most.
It's not a big offendable cases without the violence. When the violence gets involved, you have to get an order from the top. So the boss is involved in that conspiracy now. So he gives it down, and it goes down, and it goes to the guy that's actually going to commit the murder.
That's right.
And then when that falls apart, he's involved. So the boss don't want to have nothing to do with it about that. So what you see now is the Genovese family is powerful. They got powerful bosses worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not involved no more. What they do is they put up a stooge, a lightning rod. They put him up as a lightning rod to catch all law enforcement heat. So they put another man up. And then he thinks he starts running around because he's happy. He was a nobody his whole life. Now all of a sudden he's a boss for the Genovese family. And next thing you know, the feds are sending guys in him. He's driving around with a federal agent. He's got informants all around him. And next thing you know, they draw the heat. So they isolated themselves. They don't want to be part of issuing out murder contracts. They're still a powerful organization, but they're just money powerful. They're they're still in construction and concrete, and they still have some part of not control of the unions like they used to. Legitimate, the waste, the trash business. So they're still involved in tens of millions of dollars of business revenue coming in, but it's legitimate business. They got legitimate partners. So they're still the mafia. They get their respect, but they're going to lose the fear and respect that they once had because they're not going to kill no more. It's more of like a secret society that's going to be a secret club.
It
Whereas
changes everything.
if you fuck up, we're going to hurt your pockets.
Right.
What do you have to do now to be made?
Be a jerk off.
Jerk off. They can make
Yeah.
the camera. It doesn't matter. Anyone gets made now. It's a joke. I would never want to be organized crime.
Why
When I
would
was
you wanna
coming up,
be
I
made?
liked it. You don't even want to be in it. For what? What's it do for you? Nothing.
Listen, guys were running away from that life in the early 2000s because you can make more money legitimately. And why would you want to have to go kill somebody, right? That's what you would have to do to get made, be part of a murder. And they can't offer you nothing today. At least back then, they had a network where they could, we had sports gambling. We can make you a partner, give you 25% of a multi-million-dollar business. The Joker Pokers, the loan sharks, the marijuana business. There was things that you could offer these young kids today. When I was a young kid, if they told me, like I said, to go shoot a cop, I probably would have did it.
I would have did anything.
Young
they asked
kids
me.
would do it. Like these young gay kids, like why do you think there's so many murders on the street? Because they're young, and when you're young, you're wild, and you'll do when you get older, you get knowledge, you get the wisdom. You would never commit to do the shit that you did when you were 17, 18, 20, 21 as a young kid. So these guys are, there's nothing that they have to offer. So now here's where a guy would become made. We're going to make you into the family, and you're going to be part of this legitimate construction business where it's doing $100 million a year.
Right.
So now that's how they can offer you to get made, but you're not going to kill nobody. Like I said, you're getting made into the family.
It's not even mafia no more. It's not even nothing to be scared of. You know what I mean? What are you scared of? The fear was the thought of you being killed and all this violence, these crazy guys. There's no more even guys coming up like how we are. You know what I mean? They're a bunch of privileged kids. It's over. You know what I mean? It's completely over. I'll be honest, the mob is dead. Once these old timers die right now, what's left, it's over.
Damn. When did you guys figure out that it wasn't for you anymore?
Oh, well, I mean, I never thought about it like that. You know what I mean? What ends up happening is I seen it when I was in jail and everyone turned their back on me. That's when I seen it. Other than that, I loved it. I just didn't understand because I have it written on my arm. I lived and breathed this shit. I was literally, that was all I knew. I loved this shit. You know what I mean? So when I went into prison, I couldn't get lawyer money when my bosses worth $35 million. I knew something wasn't right. Okay? When I'm shooting people in broad daylight, shooting this kid in the car, doing this, beating this one up, all this crazy shit. And, I got 3 different conspiracies, state, Florida, and federal. I'm looking at an asshole full of time. My lights are out. My cousin wore a wire. My cousin's husband wore a wire on me. Talking about multiple people telling on me. I need help. I'm sitting in Rikers Island. The worst houses in Rikers Island. No help. My mother's giving me commissary money. That's what turned me out. Then my little brother's facing 7 years with a gun charge because I had my fucking scumbag cousin do something with him and he's wearing a wire. So I was in a fucking world of shit. And then these guys turned their back on me. So that's what gave me a bad taste. Other than that, if they did the right thing by me, I would have never flipped. I'm being real with you. I would have never flipped if they did the right thing by me.
What changes everything is the life was a great life. With me, I loved it. And, I had businesses, restaurants, biggest nightclub, biggest restaurant in Cape Cod, Mass. I had everything, beautiful family, girlfriend, anything you want in life, millions of dollars. What changes everything is when you murder. So when you go to sleep at night, all those crimes I was telling you about, if there's no murder, no serious violence, you're probably going to get a small sentence. I had dozens of co-defendants that got indicted with me on the RICO cases, and none of them went to jail. Out of, say, 50 co-defendants, 2 went to jail. Only one guy, the reason the one guy went was because he got caught with a gun on one of the cases, and he got a 3-year mandatory sentence. So what changes the game is the murder. Now, you go to sleep at night. If I tell you you got 10 million put away, you're making 2 million a year coming in, you're living so beautiful, and if you get caught, you're gonna go to jail maybe for a couple years.
It's nothing.
You guarantee you tell anybody on the street, 99% of 100% will take that deal, all that money. But the minute you drop a body, you don't sleep like that no more. You know, you got little kids, 2 years old, 3 years old, and you got a wife and you got a family and this and that. Now you go to sleep, the feds come and arrest you. You don't know if it's a RICO death penalty case now where you're never going to get out of prison. So that's when you know it's really not for you, because it changes the game. It changes everything. And the murder is the thing that does it.
When did this change happen? Like when do you think like the old school into where things are today? Like where do you think the rules started
Technology,
to change?
I mean, honestly, it was a lot easier to kill in the 60s and 70s. You know, there's no
Yeah,
cameras,
they
no
had
nothing. You get my grandpa used to tell me they'll walk over a body. They don't even care. People walk in the street. It's different now. You know, technology is nuts. You know, you can't. It's hard to get away with things. That's really what changed everything, I believe.
And
I think guys back then were cooperating too. They just didn't get caught
they
for the
say it.
murders.
Lucky Luciano,
You know?
these guys were all cooperating.
They were
but
still doing it.
What happens is you learn as you go, right? So the RICO comes out, and then by the 80s, they start using it. So they never got hit with cases like this where whole family, you know, the Angulos in Boston, 45-year sentences. Those were the bosses. You know, all the commission case in New York, all the bosses, 100-year sentences, right? So you never seen it. So now the next group comes up, all powerful mobsters. Boom, they get hit with the 80-year sentences. You know, now they target them. So by the time the mid-90s come, they're getting wiped out, decimated. I mean, powerful bosses are getting hit with hundreds of years.
Life.
So now 2000, and then the guys they can't get for those 100 years are getting the 5s and 6s, right? Powerful guys. So now the early 2000s are coming. It's getting to be like around 2010, and now you're starting to figure it out. So now you're in 2024, right? They figured it all out now. No murder. You know, because listen, you drop the body, you get 24/7 surveillance on you. They know right away why the guy was killed. You know, mafia guy was killed. They know who the suspects are and who ordered it, right? So now after that, it's just now we got to catch you. And they got all the time in the world and all the resources. Now it's 24/7 surveillance on you. They know you come here. There's listening devices. Your phone, forget about it. You could have it off. Buster Ardito used to carry a phone around back in 1997. He was the first guy ever that when the phone was off, FBI could turn it on and listen to the conversations, and he always turned it off. And you can look it up. John Buster Ardito, notorious, dangerous murderer for the Genovese crime family. So you learn as you go, and that's why, and you adapt and you evolve, and that's what they're doing right now. This is a period where they're adapting. And 50 years from now, you might look back and say the mafia is bigger than ever, but it's like an organization, a seat where there's a CEO and it's like legitimate, but it's a mafia.
It's more of a legit thing now, right? Or
I mean, it's a legit like businesses they have.
They're all washed up. It's a washed up situation, bro. I'll be honest with you. It really is. It really is, bro. You know?
So looking back on things and everything you guys been through, you know, when you were in the middle of this life, you know, and you were committing the murders and going through everything you guys were going through, you know, was there ever a time where you didn't agree with something that you had to do?
I was taught never say no. So my grandpa and them taught me if you want to prosper in this life, no don't exist. So if I didn't like it or not, I did it. To be honest with you. It's just the truth.
Well, I mean, I had to kill my boss, and I participated in it, and that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. The only reason I got brought into that was because the guy that got the order wasn't capable of doing it. And he was dragging his feet. I had so much other shit. I was hunting down these other individuals in my area to murder, and I pled guilty to conspiracy to murder them. And so I was focused more on murdering them. I killed my another guy at that time, my brother-in-law. I was focused on that. And the thing I didn't want to do was murder my boss. And you can't say no to that. When I got called in and was told I have to participate in that, I had to get involved, and he got murdered.
What's it like to get assigned to a hit?
I mean, my first shooting was my friend. He didn't die, but I'm saying it's up. I shot him up in broad daylight. I mean, I like that shit. I'll be honest with you. When I was young, doing crazy shit. Then we tried to kill him again in his car, and my partner froze up, and I fired into the car, and I hit an innocent person because my partner froze up. So I mean, to me, it was like an adrenaline rush. I actually liked hunting people at the time when I was young.
Did you ever get paid for any of this?
No, you don't get paid. That's not how it works, man. You gotta understand. You don't get paid. You prosper in the life. You get to make money off their money. Now I get as much money as I need for loan shark, and I get a half sheet. I'm getting proposed. Things that you want out of this life. It comes with it now, so you don't ever get paid for that stuff. That's movie stuff. You don't get paid for a hit.
And growing up, so if somebody did something to one of our families, we want to give them a vicious beating or shoot them. So that's getting pretty much, getting a hit lined up. You're going to get your guys and be like, okay, he comes out of this bar. We're going to go, he parks his car. He goes and drinks there. We're going to flatten one of his tires. He comes out. He's going to see his car flat, maybe try to figure, we're going to come out and baseball bat him. We've done that. That's a good way to get somebody. So that's kind of like being involved on a hit. But when I got ordered to shoot the guy in New York, there's a lot of planning involved.
Hell yeah.
You don't want to get caught. So you're going to murder someone. You got to be meticulous with the plan. The car you're going down with. We're coming from Mass to New York. We had to get license plates, put them in the car. We were going down with guns, with silencers. We got horrible records of violence on our rap sheet. We get caught with those guns, we're getting 20 years just for the guns. Then we got to shoot the guy on the streets of New York, and then make sure we shoot him and then get out of there. Get rid of the guns, get rid of the license plate, get back and get out of the area. So getting the order and putting together the hit, you pretty much know how to do it. It's just planning it, going over it. Like we did a drive run. We went there, and where we were told to shoot him, he came out right at 6 o'clock. But we didn't have the guns on us at that day. So we came back 2 days later, and he didn't come out that day. So we had to come back. And then finally he came out, and when he was crossing the street, and then we shot him. So it's just a plan. It's just like, it's just, we knew how to do that shit. We plotted to murder when we were younger and beat people. It was just getting the official order from someone else. It was the same thing as you're going to go do it yourself.
Absolutely.
I heard there was an attempt on your life at an airport.
Not an airport? No. There was an attempt on my life on the highway. And they shot my friend through the neck, my other friend in the back. Yeah.
Okay.
What happened was we had beat this kid up, Phil Galena, and we cracked a bottle over his head 3 weeks prior. And he took it personal, I guess, and he put money on our heads. We didn't know. We were in a nightclub, and he came in with two guys, and we thought nothing of it. Like, oh, this kid's a clown, he's just sitting there. But he was IDing us. And when we left the club, we went into the car. They pulled up on the highway on us and just put 8 shots to the car. Did the hit totally wrong. Albanians he paid. They put my friend bullet through my friend's throat, one in my friend's back, and yeah, it was meant for me. That was one time. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I was living a cowboy life. Like you would think, like Italians, you look at it like we were living like gang members almost, just not same things, but the violence was there. You know what I mean? Kid, we're 20 years old. He's putting money on my head. You know what I mean? 20-year-old. We were 20. Put $10,000 on my head to kill me and my friend, and he ended up shooting innocent people, the guy that did it. Yeah.
Damn. You mentioned being the boss in Massachusetts. Now, how do you make it to that rank? Like, what were like the steps of, did you become a capo and then all the way up?
So what happens is you had to kill to get in. So that's step number one, to get made to begin with. So you got to go on a hit that the boss tells you to go on, which I participated in, shot the guy 9 times, and that's how I get inducted. So first you got to get inducted and be a soldier. Once you're a soldier, the way it works in Massachusetts and Connecticut, we're a faction of the Genovese crime family.
Right.
Okay. So the official bosses are in New York. They're the CEOs. They're the boss of the family. Now, outside of New York, they have a faction in New Jersey, they have a faction in Florida, and they have a faction in Massachusetts, Connecticut, together. That guy right there is a captain in the family, right? But he controls the whole crew of soldiers and associates in that area. So he is the boss of that area. So Connecticut and Mass, when I took over in '03, I was the boss of Connecticut and Mass, controlling that for the Genovese crime family.
He
And
still
that's
answers
why-
to New York. New York's the motherland. So he's a captain in the Genovese family, but they make him the boss of the area.
When they write articles about me, they say reputed boss.
Right.
When I killed my boss, they put reputed boss murdered.
Right.
When I was there, I was reputed boss. That's how they word it in the newspaper.
Right.
When you're talking about you on the news, you're reputed boss of Massachusetts, Connecticut faction of the Genovese crime family.
Right.
So I'm a boss, and everybody knows I'm a boss in our area. But the Genovese family bosses, you gave me the okay to be the boss in that area.
Okay, I see. So you were the really
Really a
captain.
capo, but here's the thing. He's the boss of his area. So he's the boss. You know what I'm saying? But he answers to the motherland, which is New York.
Yeah. Capo was boss. I'm the boss of Connecticut and Mass.
Okay.
You know, so it was like for them.
What's the difference between an underboss and a consigliere? Did I say it right? I don't think I said it right.
Go ahead.
So the boss is
No, I mean not the underboss, right?
oh, you mean
Consigliere
it goes
speaks
boss,
for the family technically, but
he
go ahead, yeah.
mediates like disputes.
mediator.
He advises.
It's really a
you know,
made-up
the
rank.
boss.
It really,
Yeah, I mean,
the
it
rank
really-
is
you
really
know.
stupid. It's just the third, really. It's
Yeah.
the boss. I'm the boss consigliere.
Like an
It's
administration
Really, it's like
they
an old
use
school
and-
position, really. It'll just put you at the panel. You'll be at the top. You know what I mean?
The underboss is like mostly like I insulate the boss a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the underboss would go and deal with the captains. So and then report to the boss. You know, a lot of times the boss would report to certain captains would report to the boss themselves, but you know, it would be a form of insulation. You report to the underboss, and then the underboss, that's his job. Just like the soldiers report to their captain, right? Then the captain, if there's a beef, he doesn't go to the boss, he goes to the underboss. The underboss gets that, he goes to the boss. And you know, they're controlling, like say the Gambinos had 25 crews back in the 80s, right? You know, there's 25 captains that are all, and maybe that's why the consigliere is working with them to help that out, you know, mediating disputes so the underboss doesn't have to hear all that bullshit. But it's kind of like to insulate him, an insulation between the boss, which doesn't matter anyways, because when they come with that RICO shit, they're all getting wiped out.
Did you guys ever work with anybody famous?
What do you mean?
Like
Famous gangsters? Or
just famous people? Like any gambling debts that any famous people had?
my friend's book used to have Santana Moss betting with him, like stuff like that. I never dealt with them though, but yeah, I had friends that were big bookmakers that had Paul LaDuca betting with them from the Mets. Yeah, stuff like that, but never. I never had anything like that. No.
When you say famous too, it's like we don't
look at them
consider
as
them
famous.
Like I was partners with Dallas Cowboys
Yeah.
players at the time, active players that and retired players back in the 90s, and they didn't even know I was a silent partner of a biggest restaurant in Cape Cod, Mass. So, I mean, to me, I never met them and never cared about meeting them. You know, you just walk in life and
Mob guys are very arrogant. We don't care about if you can introduce us to the biggest celebrity in the world. We'll go like this. Yeah, great. Because we look at us like we're the celebrities, we're the shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be honest with you. That's the truth.
I mean, we have friends that became
Yeah.
famous and, you know, in that life. And
Okay. Did you ever help anybody fix any games, any sport games or anything like that?
That's past my generation, but that was back in the day. I mean, 70s, 80s shit. There was stuff going on in Jersey. A referee got caught, but no, I didn't have none of that. No, not my time.
that did exist, and it exists to this day, only not with organized crime.
Right.
Like, you know, you can be a college kid today, and this happens all the time, and they probably don't even get caught for it because there was no organized crime presence that was putting all the heat. Organized crime puts the heat on you. That's why people, you know, shy away from being around a gangster because he's a killer, he's organized crime, and by them, a legitimate guy doing business with them, he's going to put the heat on them. They attract heat. And law enforcement, their number one mission throughout the 90s, early 2000s, all the way up, was to get rid of the Italian Mafia. That was their number one goal of the government, was to wipe out the Italian Mafia. So everyone else gets a free pass. They're all doing the same crimes, but law enforcement ain't going after it because we're the number one target. So those college kids, they're going in there and they got a buddy that's playing on the football team and he's a running back and he fumbles the ball. You know, they're getting 10 points, they're up by 7, they're going in on the 1 yard line, and the ball flies out of his hands. You know, so I believe that happens to this day, and it did happen. I think there was you read about it all the time, like a little. But in our area back in the day, they did that with the with schemes back in the day, fixing games. I think it involved the college teams.
What do you think about the Mafia movies and the Sopranos and Goodfellas? And...
I mean, Goodfellas is the best one to me. It's based on my neighborhood. You know what I mean? All my friends, relatives, uncles, cousins, you know, someone's related to them. And it's from basically Ozone Park, Howard Beach. My boss was charged with that crime, actually, in 2014 of the Lufthansa. Goodfellas, to me, is the realest one out of all of them. Donnie Brasco's a great one. It's also about the Borrello family. That's all real guys that are all from my areas. But to me, Bronx Tale's the worst one. I don't like Godfall. I wasn't a fan of it. You know what I mean? To me, Goodfellas and Donnie Brasco's the two best gangster movies ever made.
Yeah, and everyone knows those movies. But there's one that was made. I watched it when I got out in 2017 called Gomorrah. And it was the Italian Mafia. Oh my God, that was a great Netflix series.
It was a TV show, wasn't it?
Netflix.
Yeah.
And an old school one was the Pope of Greenwich Village. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. You ever see that one?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
The Pope of Greenwich Village.
When they robbed the
Greenwich Village.
When they robbed the safe.
They robbed. They robbed it, and they cut his thumb off.
Yeah.
They took my thumb, and they put lye in his espresso at the end, and
it's good.
It's a good movie. It was like late 70, early 80 movie.
Did you guys watch The Sopranos?
Yeah, it's all right. Decent show. It's a Jersey crime family, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we look down upon, usually everyone else says that. I mean, yeah, I guess so. It was a good show. It was good acted. Jersey crime family wasn't really how they were making it, but, you know, actually, you know what? The Cavalcantis were like that, but, I mean, that was like, they were doing it for the 90s, 2000s. Cavalcantis were like 70s, 80s that were really, like, dangerous, you know what I mean? So, Sopranos was good, though.
What about him seeing a shrink?
I don't think that would ever really happen.
I only seen a few episodes. I didn't watch them in and out.
Like that?
We were too busy really living that gangster life. And it was like, we're living such a good life that, you know, you really didn't watch. Like, I didn't get into the TV shows. But yeah, once in a while you would see the episodes and watch it. I never got into it like that.
I don't know. I'd seen The Sopranos. They would have like a dude do a hit, and he always just drops the gun right there on the scene.
Yeah,
well, Michael Corleone did that shit, you know?
Though.
Yeah, like my boss told me on a hit one time, did I pick up the bullets? I mean, you know, so I mean, obviously you would want to keep it as clean as possible, but the shellings, you know?
You mentioned Donnie Brasco.
Yeah.
How famous was that case when you were growing up?
As a kid? Absolutely, because let's say it was huge because in my area, because Joe Messino had a hit on his head. Joe Messino was the boss of the Brown family who lived in Howard Beach. He had $500,000 on his head. Actually, Paul Castellano lifted that hit. That was a commission hit that was lifted by Paul. Everyone knew about it. You know, the movie was a lot of lies in it. He wasn't chopping bodies up. Him and Donnie Brasco didn't go try to kill Bruno, Bruno Indicato in a boat. That was like, a lot of it was, you know, exaggerated and lied. Hollywood got a hold of it. But for the most part, it was, you know, well known. You know what I mean? Sonny Black was real. Lefty Guns is real. It's all real guys. Sonny Black was killed with his hands chopped off for shaking the hands of an agent. All that stuff is real, you know? It was pretty well known, you know?
And the story was based on, like you said, Joe Messino. He was part of that ordered the 3 captains' murders when they were in the basement. And, you know, the FBI agent would never participate in
chop
murders.
Up bodies.
And
they didn't know where the bodies were until Joe went bad.
And I think they dug them up anyways, and they weren't chopped up. But I was in prison with Joe for a year. We were cellies. And he was actually, like, on the commission. He was, like, boss of the Bonanos, and he was on, status was...
Okay, who's Joe?
Joe Messino was the boss of the Brown family. He took over. He was basically the head of the 5 families at one time.
Well, he brought the banana. Didn't he bring the Bonanos back on the? You know,
after Donnie Brasco, we got wiped. We were pretty disgraced. And
guys got killed over Donnie Brasco. The guy that, like Sonny Black, like if you, like you said, you bring somebody in, you're responsible for them. So he like
they chopped his hands off.
Put him on record with him.
Yeah.
He brought the FBI agent in, and back then it was like the first ever time heard that an agent infiltrated themselves into the mafia. Sonny Black got called. That's a perfect story because we were talking about how you get called in. He got called in. He took his jewelry off or whatever. He told someone that he probably wasn't going to be coming back, but he still went to the meeting. and he went to that meeting and they killed him. He knew he was going to get
Sorry,
killed.
the gun jammed. The gun jammed, and he goes, "Let me show you how to kill someone." And he goes, "Cock it," and the guy fucking shot him again. They pushed him down the stairs, and the gun wouldn't go off. And he goes, "Let me show you how to kill someone." And he turned around.
But Joe was the actual boss of that family, and he was the one that like orchestrated the 3 captains getting murdered.
Joe ordered like 20-something murders.
Yeah.
His brother-in-law, he makes the underbosses a CL, correction officer. Sal Vitale. Come on. You can't make a cop. You can't oath a cop in. Whatever.
How worried were you guys about somebody wearing a wire, snitching or cooperating?
I mean, it happens all the time. You just never think it's going to happen to you, and it happened to me so bad. I had so many people around me cooperating against me, wearing wires on me, you know?
With me, I was never worried about, I was always cautious with phones, number one. I never talked on a phone. My phone was just, like the FBI bugged my phone and that all I got was how to make meatballs and sauce and, you know, talking to my wife. And I used it was just like, never would talk on it about any business. But you don't really get in trouble for those type of crimes. It's about, like I said, the murder. And that's when you're worried about guys coming up to you. Like I had guys come up to me all the time. I had the guy in my case that my boss put me with wore a wire on me and he wanted to talk about murder. And he had the FBI outside and they were listening and everything. But I talked to him just like he had the wire on. I whispered in his ear. I said, I'm not talking. I didn't even whisper. I said, you know, like with my mouth, I'm not talking about none of that. In his ear, like you couldn't even hear that. And then he brought up a murder. And I started saying like, oh yeah, this guy's innocent on the murder. The guy that did it, you know, did it for some other reason. Like in other words, deflecting everything that only that they knew. And but yeah, you always are cautious when it comes to like even if you're talking planning the murder. We used to have to, we were plotting several murders, you know, back then. And when we went to go talk about it, we would take all our phones off, our beepers, go outside and be whispering in each other's ear, like what we needed to be done, you know, just so we didn't get caught. And never went, and then afterwards you would never discuss it again.
You're not supposed to.
And talk about it.
How often?
And you can tell when somebody's asking certain questions if something's wrong. Like if you're a street guy,
You'll pick
you
up
know
on it.
something. It's like, why is he asking?
You're not supposed
you know?
to bring up a body. Even if the boss asks you, you're supposed to look at him like he's fucking crazy.
How often would somebody brag about it after the fact, even if they weren't supposed to?
No, yeah, you had people that did that.
My guy did it.
You had people that do that. You have people that do that.
I killed my brother-in-law. We buried him in in one of my stash houses. I used to keep my marijuana. I had AK-47s, grenades. So we killed him and buried him there. And we were driving by there was a street and it was kind of like up off the street, and we were driving by there. And they were searching for this guy. You know, they were just searching for him. They could never find him. And my friend in the back that participated in the murder, and his brother's in the front, he starts singing this song like on top of Old Smokey, all covered with blood, just being like stupid. And I turn the radio up. His brother, who's a dangerous killer, looks at me. I look at him, and you know, like, what is this? You know, what are you doing? Like, you know, you don't play around when it comes to that.
Something like
not,
that.
There's no
It's nothing to
jokes.
play around.
You know, we murdered somebody. It's dead and buried, and it's like you put it out of your head, and you know, and he was joking around like that. So, and he also So when we murdered our boss, the suspect was 6'1" with a guy wearing a hoodie, and everybody knew that one of my guys in my crew hated my boss because my boss Bruno put his hands on him, slapped him around. And Bruno's lucky that this guy didn't kill him because he's a dangerous killer. But I was there and he didn't kill him. So they knew there was bad blood. So the next day, my friend's 6'1", it's in the newspapers. Bruno got killed by an assassin, 6'1" with a hoodie, and this kid's 6'1", and he's next day he's wearing the hoodie. We killed my brother-in-law. The next day, we're the #1 suspects. We hang around this hot place where the Italian, when I say hot, law enforcement's always watching it, this organized crime hotbed. And, you know, we're the #1 suspect. He pulls up in a convertible Corvette, you know, wanting to come to the place where they're always watching it. Law enforcement is always watching it. I seen him pull up, and I went out the back door. And, you know, he's calling me up, where'd you go? And, you know, I'm not going to be around you. I'm trying to get out of it. We're trying to stay on the streets and survive,
Right.
and you're trying to act reckless and put heat on us.
What did you think?
And they want the notoriety. That's what they do.
They wanted to
like
know.
when
Some
I
people want to
murdered,
get caught.
when I murdered, I don't want nobody to know. I'm always deflecting. My boss asked me why we killed my brother-in-law because he never gave me the order. And I said, I don't know. I don't know. No, he says, what happened to my brother-in-law? Because he disappeared. And I said, I don't know. I think he took off he was married to my wife's sister. I go, I think he left her. He was on drugs and he grabbed some girl. I think he took off to Florida. I wouldn't tell my own boss about that.
Yeah.
Whereas other guys, they want that they want the streets to know that they're dropping
They drop
bodies.
the bodies,
You
yeah.
know? But when the streets know, law enforcement knows.
Right, exactly.
You know, so, you know, but guys like that.
What were your thoughts when the guy started questioning you about these murders?
I knew right away he was wearing a wire. That one guy, that one particular guy, I talked to him like he was wearing a wire. And he was wearing a wire. And I was told that he was an FBI informant in the 90s, and I asked, my boss put him with me, and I asked permission to kill him, and my boss protected him. And, you know, and it come to find out everything, we got told by the Gambino family, this guy John Bologna was an informant. So the bosses of the Gambino family, I was in New York, the boss tells us that this guy's an informant. The Patriarca family, Rico Petrillo and Anthony Beaver, Asenzo, whatever, they tell us the guy with the beard that comes up to Springfield is an informant. We had a faction in our area that tells us the guy is an informant. I tell my boss, send the guy up, you'll never see him again. We got holes dug. Well, you'll never see this guy. You have to be a big hole because this guy was like 6'4" and 300 pounds, but you know, we would have fit him in it. And he protected him, he never set him up. So that's like in that world, you don't know, like, is my boss got him
Right.
similar to like maybe Persco had Scarpa or Whitey Bulger, you know, like are they operating like that? So, you know, and then it doesn't matter when someone's operating like that if you're facing 2 years, who cares? Because then, you know, you do your 2 years, you get out and you got nothing to do with them ever again, you see you later.
Right.
But when you're facing death penalty cases and life sentences and they put you with them, and then they protect them when you say you wanted to kill them, now you start thinking like, oh, he was in on it with them for whatever reason to gain, to, you know, get rid of their enemies, to get power, like from the information from the feds to protect them.
Did you guys want to make it all the way up to be a boss? Or were you guys just...
I wasn't even thinking about it. I don't know. I was just going, I was more loving the money, you know what I mean? But I mean, yeah, if I did, that'd be great, you know what I mean? It was more for me, the money. That's really was my luring too, was making all that money for no, you know, no education and shit like that, you know? I didn't care if I made it to the top.
I did make it as a boss. I mean, I was never going to be the boss of the Genovese family in New York. I'm not from New York. So I did make it to the top.
You
I
made
was
it
the
as
boss.
high as you could.
Yeah, I was the most powerful guy outside of New York. I don't care what family you were. I was the most powerful guy outside of New York. I was a boss for the Genovese crime family. I was with the biggest crime family, and I was a boss outside of New York.
How many people did you have working under you?
Dozens and dozens of associates, soldiers. It was a newspaper article that it was in 2006, Boston hero Michelle McPhee, and she put in the article, New York wise guys invade Western Mass, that was the title, and per capita, we were told that we had more made guys and associates than the strongholds of the Brooklyn and the Bronx, and everybody knows that that's Mafia Haven, you know? So it was like, but per capita, because we're a lot smaller of an area, you know, and we got it in Connecticut. Don't forget, there's made guys all throughout Connecticut in our crew also. And then the associates, you know, a lot of times, you know, the associates don't get credit. Like Gene ended up never getting made. He was an associate, but still, he's a dangerous money maker, and he's a to be reckoned with on the streets. Associates, a soldier could have 30 associates capable of violence, money making schemes.
They're the ones
and
really
everything.
causing all the havoc.
So yeah, there was, you
The
know,
associates?
yeah, hundreds of us
Hundreds,
in
you
through
know, it's
Connecticut,
what
and
happens. We're the ones that make the soldiers and the captains look good a lot of times. You
we
know?
had all the way up into Albany too, going more Western Mass. So, you know, you had Mass, you had Central Mass, you had all going in through Connecticut. Big territories. So you need a lot of people to fill in those territories.
Okay. There's no RICO in Canada, I heard.
Nope.
There is a thing called gangsterism, they call it. If you look that up, look up gangsterism.
They don't have RICO though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
It's
Is
not
there-
called RICO.
They're
Is
still
there
killing
factions?
They're still killing people like crazy over there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How does a person start, like, you know, like at one point it started, you know, New York, and then other factions and
It's been going on, man.
know,
You
just-
put people in place. You might put a guy in Florida, put a guy here. It just happens, man. You want to expand, make more money. You know what I mean?
and then they start meeting people.
I mean, yeah, you got guys that might send guys to you, give you guys to come out there. It's all different ways, you know?
Cousins, like
Yeah.
back in the day, the Genovese
Yeah.
family, and then they got a family member, like in our area, which that did happen. They had this guy Miranda, and they were a big, powerful family with the Genovese family. And then next thing you know, he gets straightened out and he starts his own crew, starts making guys, and they build it up. And that was back in the 30s. So, it doesn't take nothing. The guy Bobby Luisi got made in Philadelphia with the Scarfo family with Philadelphia, and then he went back to Boston and he started making guys in Boston, and he built up a crew, and now it's a crew from Philadelphia that's in Boston.
Did you guys ever hear anything about Jimmy Hoffa or what really happened with him?
I mean, so many rumors. Who knows, really? I'm way before my time. It's such, who knows? I think it was a simple hit that just probably put him somewhere and they made it into like this big thing. You know what I mean?
Like
Honestly,
you know what's funny?
any
is,
other
like,
guy
a
gets
lot of
killed and
people,
buried.
when they say they know what happened, or they know where he was. That's funny because, whoever did that hit were professionals, and
Yeah, just put him somewhere. Giant
mean,
stadium, all this bullshit. Just put him in the dirt somewhere. You're not gonna find him.
But the reasons why, I can tell you, like when you know that life, he had a powerful enemy in the Genovese crime family, Tony Provenzano. So, that's one thing that I would say was the cause of his death. Not the fact that he came out and still wanted to be involved in the unions and he was causing problems, but the fact that he had a beef with a major organized crime figure, Tony Provenzano.
Was that who was rumored to have killed him, or what was there? Was there a rumor about it?
Yeah, like he was. That's one of the reasons why he didn't kill him, but one of the reasons why he got killed. He would have sent. There's rumors that the Genovese family, two guys. I don't know if they were brothers, but there's rumors.
So many rumors.
Yeah, but those two guys are the actual shooters, and it would make sense that Detroit would actually have to have somebody. When you get killed like that, he had to get into a car. Whoever car, I heard it was his son-in-law or whatever, this and that, but whoever's car it was, he had to trust. And that guy, had to give him up. For him to get in that car, he had to trust that guy. Because he got out of his car.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they find his car at some place in Detroit? And then he got in the car. Whoever's car he got in, he trusted.
How hard was it for you to leave the life?
After I seen the betrayal, not hard at all. They made it easy for me.
So you got betrayed. What all happened?
They broke their oath first. You didn't look after me. You didn't do what you're supposed to do. Left me for dead. So I don't go. I'm not a regular guy. You're not gonna just walk up to me and say what you want. You know what I'm saying? I was a bad guy. You know what I mean? You better be that guy. You're gonna come up to me and talk some shit. You know what I mean? So I don't give a. I live a great life right now. I don't care. I'm happy with it. They broke their oath.
So if somebody's in jail, they're supposed to take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Why
They
wouldn't
don't,
you?
but you're supposed to.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? If you're a smart gangster, you would.
So they're not taking care of you, and what's that day like? Where you, and how does it go for you to leave or to stop doing?
It was just hard. It was sucked. I felt betrayed. Like, what the? You got millions of dollars. I thought they were joking when I heard that. I thought it would just be done like that. No. These people are greedy, man, and his own greed ruined his life. So whatever. Greed was his downfall. My boss.
Yeah. So with me, it was the hardest thing ever to go through at the time. I loved the life. I never would want to surrender. It was just the worst period of my life. But looking back, it was like a no-brainer. It was like, I'm so thankful that everything, I'm glad I'm out of that life. It was like, we were like brainwashed into that way of life growing up and being involved in it. And that's why it's so hard. But when you look back, there's nothing more, you got children, little kids. You got, the treachery that's involved in that life, killing your friends and killing people that you grew up with, family members that you had to grow up with. So looking back now, it's like over 90% would say that was the easiest decision you could have ever made. But at the time when you're going through it, it's extremely, it's horrible decision. It's hard to get, leaving that life.
What did you guys have to do to actually leave the life?
Cooperate. Like, the agents came to see me 19 months in. It was random. I kept telling them no at first. At first, I'm like, hell no. I had 3 different conspiracies. I'm facing an asshole full time. I got priors. I did time for shootings. They're charging me with all kinds of conspiracies. I'm done. If I get a fucking 35-year cop out, I did good. So they came to see me 19 months in after my boss beat the Latanza trial. And they came to see me and says, well, we're not going to come back again. And I said, give me the fucking paper. I had it. I was like fed up. I almost did it out of spite. You know what I mean? Jail didn't faze me. It wasn't about jail.
They bring you in, or how does that? How does
So
it go
they
down?
basically, you know, you got to be careful when you're doing that process, especially in Rikers Island. So I told them, well, if I'm doing this, you can't leave me in here, obviously, you know. So I signed the paper. They came and got me next week and put me under a fake name in another county in New Jersey. And that was it. Sat with them.
You told them everything you ever did?
You have to, otherwise you void your contract. Let me explain something. You don't play with them. They're not your friends.
There's
It's a business
guys that
deal.
leave things out and they get it all. They did it for nothing.
Yes.
You know, they sat down and they made a deal with the government. They try to be slick. Guy in my case that I wanted to kill, he was an informant, and he was the #1 guy that got me the death penalty case. And when he cooperated with the feds, he left out a murder that I did with him. Was involved with him, and they knew that was, he left that out. And then when he never told them about that, he was never going to spend 1 day in prison. He ended up going to prison and dying in prison. So yeah, if you're going to do that, make that decision. Don't, it's it. You're done totally, and you leave something out, it'll come back, and that's happened with other guys. Bobby DeLuca, Frank Salemi. Frank Salemi murdered somebody with Bobby DeLuca. He never told him about the murder. He cooperated with the government. Never told on Bobby DeLuca. Years later, Bobby DeLuca gets jammed up in a, light potential case. He flips. He tells him about the murder. Frank, he was out living in Florida, lived a good life, and now he ends up dying in prison.
Damn.
It's a dangerous game. If you're going that route, at the end of it all, you die in prison, or you get killed. There's no happy, and then the only happy ending is if you wake through it and you made it to this point, because now they're not giving the 50-year sentences no more, 100-year sentence. So you got a good shot of dying peacefully on the street.
Oh, right now in the Mafia, I'd be golden. No more violence. I would never. I'd do 5 years in my head in the closet spinning, listening to fucking opera music. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about that. Nowadays, it's bullshit time. You know what I mean? Bullshit. So different.
How much time did you guys each end up having to do?
I did 13 years total. I would have ended up doing like probably 40 years, but I did 13 total. I was on parole probation in jail since I'm 18. I got off September. I did 21 years total in the system. Okay?
Damn.
Yeah.
I did 13 total. My last case that when I got out of it, I did 8.5.
You guys get out of jail. Now, what is your guys' life like? How are your family, and how does it affect everything?
When I got out of prison, I went right back to where I grew up. And, you're shell-shocked. Anybody that's been in prison, I don't care if you did 2 years, I did 8.5 straight. You're getting back into society. You're not tech savvy. The phones, they're way ahead of it. You're not with the computers. You're around. You're isolated in prison. Now you come out. You're dealing. The world is fast. In there you're getting up. You're working out. You got no responsibilities. You're eating tunas and mackerels, and you're staying healthy. You're reading self-help books and philosophy. You got your mind, and everything is good. Now you come out, and the world is like going 100 miles an hour, and you can't get caught up in it. So you're shell-shocked. So you got to adapt that way. And then you're not in that life anymore. So you got to adapt that way. But then if you're sharp, you figure things out. It takes a little bit of time, and right now everything is great. Everything is great. Everything is the same as it was as before. Only I'm making legitimate money.
Straight up.
We got books that were out. I got a Discord I'm starting. I'm heavily involved in real estate, and you can make, like I said, you can make millions of dollars legitimately. You don't need to be involved in a criminal organized crime group or a gang. You can get into lucrative businesses and make just as much money and not have to worry about the feds kicking your door in at 5 o'clock in the morning.
But we live like rock stars. I'll be honest with you. It's crazy, a little bit. And legit, people love us wherever we go because they know we really part of this life. They want to hear what we got to say. People are dying to hear this stuff. They glorify it. They love it. Book deal. I mean, I have a best-selling book. I'm going into movies, all kind of shit because it was the mafia. It's a part of American history. It paved the way for everything, a lot of things. So we were part of it, and people want to hear it. They love it.
Have you guys been back to your old neighborhoods?
I lived in it.
I'm living in the house.
After cooperating?
Yes. I lived in it. I said, you better send the right guy. Better not shoot me my legs. Better not shoot me my legs.
I grew up in the house I grew up in. When I came home, I went back to that house, and I bought it in 2019, and I'm still there.
You guys aren't worried about...
Bro, what, are they going to shoot a water gun at me? What are they going to shoot? Throw rocks at me? Nobody's doing nothing no more. 30 years ago, all right, well,
they'd have to kill 500 people ahead of us.
What about all the people that told on me? Nobody did nothing to them. What about all the guys that put me in jail? When I actually go get my fucking rat cousin, I tell him, kill his dog at least. They wouldn't even kill the dog. I knew he loved his dog. I says, kill his dog. Shoot the dog. Little Gotti worked for me. John Gotti's grandson was one of my guys. I had a bunch of little guys. My boss wouldn't okay them to kill the dog. I said, kill his dog at least. Make me happy in here.
Real killers ain't gonna talk like they do on the internet and kill and this and that, and the wannabes ain't capable of killing. And I'm a real killer, so it's like, that's what they're up against, and that's where we're at today. The internet that hides behind the trolls with the fake advertising, they ain't coming to kill you. They're not even showing their face on the.
Most people that meet us are happy to meet us. Can I get a picture?
YouTube.
Can I get a picture? Can I hang out? You know what I'm saying? They want to hang out with us.
And nobody cares anymore today. I mean, nobody gives a shit about that shit. The only thing is, people are haters in general, human nature. So they're just jealous, envious. That's human nature. So if they don't hear about you, that means you're really irrelevant in life. That means you're not doing too much. You're probably broke. And nobody gives a shit about you. But the minute you start rising up and you're being successful, that's when the haters come out of the woodwork and they hate on you because you're living better than them. And that's how you kill them. You kill them with success.
Do you guys ever run into anybody? Any of your old friends?
Absolutely. I have. Absolutely.
What's that like?
What is it? It's like this. It's like, look, I'm not the toughest kid in the world, but they know they can't abuse me. It's not going to happen. Like, yeah, you're going to do something to me, but I'm going to do something back. I'm not going to run from you. They don't know that. They'll pick on someone that won't defend themselves. Then they don't know if I got a weapon on me. I was a known weapon guy. I'll stab you. I'll shoot you. I'll run you over. You think that just goes away because I cooperated? Honestly, you think I'm going to let you now abuse me now? You're out of your fucking mind. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen. I'm still that guy. I just don't look for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't run from it, but, I don't look for it. That's all, and they know that. And they'll talk shit on the internet. That's it. Not to my face. And most people say hello to me. Hey, how you been? You weren't a gangster, stay the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in my neighborhood. I grew up. I'm in Springfield, the city of Springfield. I grew up there. I go out there. I came back home where the Italian club is. I did I had a YouTube channel, Money, Mayhem, and the Mafia. I stopped doing it. It's a lot of work. I'm going to try to start it up again. I didn't have good audio, but I did it right down the south end of where I grew up in and filmed right there, 4 episodes. And you're going to, you bump into my old friends growing up all the time.
How'd you guys meet?
Jail. Farrington.
Okay.
First guy I met, I was looking for mob guys. I said, there's one right there. I said, all right, I went over to him. We started bullshitting. Yeah.
This was after both of you guys
cooperated? Yeah, absolutely. We walk in the yard and shit, hanging out, And that was it.
You guys, okay,
we never thought we'd be here right now. We were tweeting that the other day, because we're in there, figuring out what we're going to do.
If we told you what happened with us last night, it was like, we've been in LA for about a week, right? And it's like the love and the things that were going on, and it just, you wouldn't believe it, how we're living and the where we go and who's we're with.
It's crazy.
It's just,
it would blow your mind, to be honest with you.
Man, that's what's up.
Yeah. Very happy about it.
You guys are out doing your thing, man.
Yeah.
You guys got crazy stories, man.
Yeah. I want to say I got a book coming out, South End Syndicate. Just to mention that it's coming out September 17th. It's going to be about the Genovese family outside of New York, Connecticut, Western Mass, talking about the the gangsters in those areas, because you never really hear about them. You hear in New York, Boston, Chicago, and all that. So that book is coming out, South End Syndicate, September 17th.
Right. I have a best-selling book out called Born to Life. My Instagram is my name, Gene Borrello. You can reach me there. I answer everybody. It's what I'm known for through the world, you should say. I answer everybody that DMs me. I talk to everyone. You know, I'm a cool guy. And I'm supposed to be part of a movie called Pony. It's coming out soon. And my book is becoming a TV show. Working on it now.
And I also, my Instagram is my name, Anthony_Bingy Arillotta.
Your book's becoming a TV show.
Yeah, they're working on that right now.
Is it being filmed?
The pilot will be getting started filming in September, most likely.
Oh, can you talk about who's
Yeah,
playing you? Or?
Well, we don't. I have people that I want. I mean, I'm allowed to say who I want. I don't know if we're gonna get him. I would like Shia LaBeouf. That's who I'm aiming for. So we'll see what happens.
That'd be crazy, man. That's pretty dope.
I mean, everything that people keep telling me that it's crazy is happening. So I'm like, hey, it's gonna happen, because everybody says books don't sell no more. You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do that, and everything just keeps happening for me. So hey, let's see if Shia LaBeouf comes through. You know?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Wow. I know he doesn't do much anymore. He kind of went away from Hollywood.
He's back.
He's back.
He's back.
Okay.
He loves playing bad guys.
He what?
He likes to play gangsters. So we'll see.
That would be crazy,
Yeah.
man. Well, man, you guys, I really appreciate you,
Yeah.
man. You know, you guys' story is dope. You know, I just wish you guys luck with everything, man.
Thank you.
Glad you guys are doing
Thank
good.
you. Appreciate it, man. It was fun. Had a good time.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah,
All right.
we've been everywhere. We've been doing all the shows. We're doing all of them.
We gotta go
you
do
know,
one now after
yeah,
this.
we gotta go do another one over
yeah.
at the. It's about our 10th show we did out here.
Man, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
And, shit, I know you guys will just keep going, man.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I
thanks for
appreciate
having
you
us.
guys.
It's nice
Thank you
to-
guys. It was
yeah.
good meeting you guys.
Yeah. Pleasure.
For sure. What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon. So hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.